Chapter 1125. It was late at night, and the Vico Corporation's office was dark, like an abandoned place. But this was just an illusion. In an office that could withstand tank shelling, a large group of Japanese were having a very critical meeting. President Thompson did not return to his residence. The people who stayed in Area 51 to monitor him said that he did not leave Area 51 at all. A trusted samurai from the Hattori family reported to my Hattori. My Hattori furrowed her brows. Is he really that busy? Kenichi Yagyu said, We don't know if he is busy or not, but what I know is that the X-secret gold is really too important to the Japanese Empire. This is an opportunity. Why are you still hesitating? My Hattori said, Master Yagyu, I don't know why, but I always feel that something is wrong. What's wrong? Kotaro Fuma sneered. Is it because those killers killed so many people from your Hattori family, and you don't dare to leave here? Kotaro Fuma, what do you mean? My Hattori was a little angry. My mother has fallen into the hands of that person, and almost all the people in our family are dead. Why is this happening? Isn't this because my Hattori family and I are defending the interests of the Japanese Empire and the Yamato people? If your family also became the target of that person, and I said such sarcastic words in your ear, how would you feel? The person she was talking about was obviously Charlotte. Master Fuma shut his mouth. Even though he looked big and burly, just like Zhang Fei during the Three Kingdoms period, his mind was still very meticulous. Although the Hattori family had declined, my Hattori was still a core member of the Japanese Secret Service. It was not a good thing to become enemies with her. Is there any news about your mother now? Nayana Hatano asked. Dentist Hattori had a pained expression on his face. No, the mastermind is Charlotte. He has more money than the Hattori family has accumulated over the centuries. He doesn't care about money at all. To put it bluntly, if that's the case, I think your mother is probably dead by now, Zagawa Maki, the leader of the Sagaryu, said. My Hattori's eyes were filled with tears. Half of what he said there was for her mother, the other half for these Japanese samurai. Every woman was a natural actress, and her acting skills were especially outstanding. If her tears could win the sympathy of these people and unite them to his side, why not shed them? Don't be sad. What you need the most right now isn't revenge, but motivation. We need a smart and calm leader. Kenichi Yagyu patted my Hattori on the shoulder. He didn't know how others felt, but he was moved by my Hattori. A woman whose family was about to be killed, but she was not defeated. She was still on the front line of the fight against the enemy. Wasn't such a woman worthy of touching and respect? My Hattori's tears did have a very good effect. Some people had said something against her before, but now it was gone. Among these Japanese samurai, there was a feeling of grief and indignation, as well as a common enemy. My Hattori wiped her tears and said in a trembling voice, For the future of the Japanese Empire and the Yamato people, our Hattori family has paid a heavy price. I don't want the same thing to happen to you. So Charlotte must die. He's in Las Vegas now, and he's 10 times more cunning than you think. That's why I'm so careful. A large group of Japanese samurai didn't feel much about her words. None of them had fought with Charlotte before, so they didn't know what kind of opponent Charlotte was. Charlotte was powerful, and Charlotte was cunning. These were just ideas that my Hattori had instilled in them. They were all big figures in the Japanese samurai world. How could they admit that a Chinese person was more powerful than them? But I believe that as long as we unite, it won't be difficult to kill Charlotte and get the X-secret gold technology. In order to show my sincerity, I've decided to take out $20 million as the operation fund. In addition, everyone who participates will receive $1 million. But you have to understand that you're not working for me or the Hattori family, but for the Japanese Empire and the Yamato people. I'm the same as you. I'm also a samurai representing the Hattori family, my Hattori said. Moving people with emotion and buying people with money, my Hattori's psychological attack was very beautiful. The Japanese samurai no longer had any knot in their hearts. Her whole family was about to be killed, but she still persisted in fighting, and she even took out so much money for the operation fund. What else could they complain about? Although these people were important figures in the Japanese samurai world, It wasn't the era of samurai now. Many people lived a poor life and didn't have much money at all. My Hattori gave each of them $1 million, which was enough to move them. Therefore, when my Hattori said that she would give each of them $1 million, although they looked as if money was nothing to them, they were very happy in their hearts. Who would feel bad about money? After calming the situation and winning the hearts of the people, my Hattori turned her attention to her people. Let's talk about the situation along the way. The Hattori family's confidant samurai said, "Our people, as well as the people of the Secret Service, have scouted all 130 kilometers of the route and found no abnormalities, no suspicious people, and no ambush points." Kenichi Yagyu said, "So we missed an excellent opportunity." Kagawa Maki also said, "The secret gold X is very important to us. Its value to Japan is even greater than the value of killing Charlotte. I think we should make a deal with Thompson first, and then discuss how to kill Charlotte." "Yes," Nayana Hatano said. "Thompson also said that he doesn't lack buyers. If we miss this opportunity and he sells the secret of the secret gold X to others, our losses will be incalculable." Fumitaro, who had been targeting my Hattori, also said, "Thompson is a brigadier general in the U.S. military. Charlotte can't bribe him to collude with him to frame you. I'm even sure that Charlotte doesn't even know who Thompson is. How could Charlotte make a fuss about this matter?" Everyone agreed to go to Area 51 to complete the deal with Thompson, and everyone's eyes were focused on my Hattori. My Hattori had to make the decision for such a matter. My Hattori was silent for a long time before she said, "I'll ask Thompson again tomorrow. If he insists on going to Area 51, then we'll wait for him to come back and complete the deal in Las Vegas." What do you mean?" Kenichi Yagyu was puzzled. My Hattori said, "He's on duty tonight. Will he still be on duty tomorrow night? He's a brigadier general, and he's only on duty 2 or 3 times a month. It's impossible for him to be on duty twice in a row. If he's not on duty, but still insists that we go to Area 51 to do the deal, then there's a problem. Also, his income isn't high. He said that he can get $3 million. Such a sum of money is a lot for him. He should take the initiative to come to us instead of repeatedly asking us to go to Area 51 to do the deal. Think about it. He's risking treason to do this deal. Under normal circumstances, he should stay away from Area 51. Why does he insist on staying in Area 51? Her meticulousness was truly frightening. Nayana Hatano said, "Didn't he say that the deal will be done outside Area 51, not inside? I think he's also doing it for self-protection. No one dares to use force near Area 51, and that's his territory. Charlotte won't be stupid enough to do it there, will he? Even if he succeeds, he won't be able to escape. The same thing, analyzed from different angles, would yield different results." My Hattori said, "That's it. I'll call him again tomorrow and find out what he wants to say before making a decision. I know you want to make this deal for Japan, but if we're too impulsive, it's easy to fall into the enemy's trap. We only have one chance, and we can't make any mistakes." A large group of Japanese samurai then dispersed, leaving only my Hattori in the office. She woke up the computer on her desk and looked at the satellite map on it. After a while, she said to herself, "Charlotte, where are you? Aren't you going to kill me? Why don't you come? Your goal is the Shepherd Plan, but why don't you take action? Are you trying to compete with me in patience? Let me tell you, I'm more patient than you." 70 kilometers away, in a valley on the way to Area 51 from Las Vegas. When he climbed up a hillside, Charlotte stopped. He just glanced at the road at the foot of the mountain, and his brain gave him a set of data: 511 meters above sea level, 593 meters straight line distance, 5 meters wind speed per second, level 3 breeze. There was no doubt that this was a very ideal sniping point. "This is it," Charlotte said. Akiko Tsukino, who was with him, also stopped. She turned on the tactical flashlight in her hand and shone it at the opposite side. Then she turned it off and turned it on again. This was the agreed light signal. She was telling Angumi-kan and Saimu on the opposite hillside that she and Charlotte had found the sniping point, and the position was at the light. A few seconds later, the light came from the opposite side, and it was also illuminated twice. Sayemu and Angyumi Khan also found their position, which was at a similar height and position. Qianjun was acting alone, and he was in the jungle at the foot of the mountain. If my Hattori's convoy appeared, he would follow Charlotte's instructions to awaken the TM-83 anti-tank side armor mines, and then sneak in the direction of the valley entrance to cut off the Japanese's retreat from behind. After exchanging light signals, Akiko Tsukino untied the equipment bag on her back and said casually, "We are in position, but what if my Hattori doesn't come?" Charlotte was full of confidence. "Believe me, if her mother is not executed in another place, she won't come. But tomorrow, as long as she receives news that her mother will be executed in another location, she will definitely come here." "I believe you." Akiko Tsukino walked to the woods next to them. "Where are you going?" Charlotte asked. "I'm going to relieve myself. You keep an eye on me," Akiko Tsukino said, and then entered the woods. Charlotte was speechless and nodded. He couldn't help but draw a very vivid picture of a ninja peeing in his mind. Sometimes, it wasn't a good thing to use your brain too well. Less than a minute after Akiko Tsukino entered the woods, she screamed, "Ah, snake!" Charlotte sighed and didn't move. Would a female ninja who killed without blinking be afraid of snakes? "Ouch, I was bitten." Akiko Tsukino's voice. Charlotte couldn't help but run inside. "Where's the snake?" "It's on you." Charlotte. He suddenly felt that he made a serious mistake in his tactical layout. He should have been with the Indians or Iraqis, not Akiko Tsukino. Chapter 11:26. 10 o'clock in the morning. My Hattori dialed Thompson's number. "It's me, Mr. Thompson. When do you get off work?" My Hattori went straight to the point. Thompson's voice came from the phone. "Why are you asking me this question? I need a safe transaction environment, and I always think that my place is an absolutely safe place. I have prepared the cash you want. As long as you bring me what I want, we can complete the transaction," my Hattori said. He. Thompson laughed. "Mr. Thompson, what are you laughing at?" Thompson's voice. "Miss Abdomen, I understand your thoughts, but I don't think your place is an absolutely safe place. Of course, it is absolutely safe for you, but it may be a trap for me. I want to make a transaction within my control. You can trust me. My Hattori family doesn't care about millions of dollars. Money is certainly not a problem for you. But if this transaction is known by the Pentagon and the White House, it will not be a good thing for Japan. How can I be sure that you don't want to kill me after you get the things?" "Mr. Thompson, there is a new buyer who contacted me. You can continue to wait, but this is your only chance. I will give you an hour to think about it. After an hour, we will agree to the new buyer. That's it. Remember, you only have an hour. Goodbye." "Mr. Thompson, wait. Hello?" My Hattori wanted to persuade him one last time, but Thompson had already hung up. She slammed the phone on the desk in anger. She thought that Thompson would give up the idea of trading in Area 51 under the temptation of money, but she didn't expect a new buyer to contact him. If she didn't go to Area 51 and insisted on doing the transaction here, then Thompson might really think that she had set a trap here and would kill him after the transaction was completed, thus facilitating the transaction between him and the new buyer. She had an hour to think about whether to go or not. The time given by Thompson wasn't short, but it was ample. However, she always had a feeling that something was wrong in her heart, but she couldn't tell what exactly was wrong. "Go, my," Kenichi Yagyu said. "I don't think Charlotte knew about this deal. Besides, he wouldn't dare to set up an ambush there." The eyes of a large group of Japanese samurai gathered on my Hattori. This time, no one opposed her. They just quietly waited for her instructions. At that moment, someone knocked on the door and shouted, "President! President!" My Hattori's finger tapped on the keyboard, and the office door opened. A warrior from a Hattori family ran in with a panicked expression. "President, bad news." My Hattori was worried that she couldn't find a place to vent her anger. She said angrily, "Bastard! Why are you panicking? Speak. What happened?" "I'm sorry." The reprimanded family warrior lowered his head. "President, madam. She's in America?" "What? How is that possible?" My Hattori suddenly stood up with a shocked expression on her face. She couldn't believe what she had heard. The family warrior continued. President, it's true. Madam is in a small town 100 kilometers east of Las Vegas. The killer brought her to America and asked one of his men to send us a video file and some photos. Give it to me, my Hattori roared. The family warrior handed an envelope to my Hattori. The envelope contained a letter and a USB flash drive. The letter was written in English. Bring $100 million to ransom your mother, or I will cut off her head and send it to you by express delivery. The signature was a wrench. That was the symbol of the mechanic's identity. All of the letters he sent out for ransom had the symbol of a wrench on it. My Hattori crumpled the letter into a ball and played the video file. The computer monitor showed a basement with no doors or windows. The lights were dim. Winnie Hattori only had a bra and a pair of underwear on her body. Her body was covered with wounds and was dirty. She was tied up tightly by the hemp rope and thrown on the ground like a dog. A man wearing a V for Vendetta mask stood behind Wendy Hattori with a fire axe in his hand. He was filled with murderous intent. At the end of the video, he swung the fire axe at Wendy Hattori. However, he didn't hit Wendy Hattori. He only made a threatening gesture. My Hattori's heart was burning with anger. Her eyes were terrifyingly cold. It must be that bastard Charlotte. He's in that small town. He asked the killer to bring your mother there. He set up an ambush there and waited for us to go there. Kagawa Maki said. Hateno Nyana said, it doesn't matter if Charlotte set up an ambush in that small town or not. We should go there and kill him. We've been waiting for him to show up. He finally lost his patience. This is our chance to kill him. Yes, this is the United States, not China. She doesn't only have to face us. She also has to face the American Army, the CIA, and the FA organization. Once they find out that Charlotte is in that small town, that place will become Charlotte's grave. Master Fuma's voice was very loud and unpleasant to the ears. It gave off the feeling that a wild beast was roaring. All the Japanese samurai were excited. A murderous aura filled the office. However, while everyone was still excited by this piece of news, my Hattori had already calmed down. Her face was expressionless. Her voice was calm as well. She looked at the family samurai who came to report the news. When did you get this letter? From minutes ago. I read the contents of the letter as soon as I got it. I sent someone to chase after it, but they didn't find the person who sent the letter, the family samurai said. My Hattori fell silent again. She still looked as calm as ever. What are you still hesitating for? Kenichi Yagyu couldn't hold it in anymore. Now is the time for you to make a decision. Make your decision quickly. The time won't wait for us. My Hattori ended her thoughts in silence. Give this letter and the information on the USB to the CIA. Let them fight in the small town. We'll go to Area 51. Everyone thought that my Hattori would take them to the small town to kill Charlotte, but they didn't expect her to make such a decision. Your mother. Kenichi Yagyu didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was obvious. Don't you care about your mother? My Hattori said, Master, I know what you want to say. If I can, I'd rather face death in place of my mother. But have you ever thought about why Charlotte sent us the news of my mother at this time? I know him very well, and I know his strength even better. If he wasn't 100% sure, would he expose his position so easily? You mean Charlotte isn't in that small town at all? Masaki Kagawa's voice was heard. My Hattori said, yes, I can guarantee with my head that he will never be in that small town. He will definitely set up an ambush on the way there. If a large army appears, he will retreat quietly. If we're the only ones there, then he will attack us. It's best if he attacks. I will personally twist off his head and dig out his heart in front of him. Taro Fuma looked very excited. My Hattori said, Taro Fuma, what I want to tell you is that there are many people who have the same idea as you, but none of them are alive now. Charlotte is the most powerful sniper in the world. He can shoot any target at a distance of 3,000 meters. If you want to twist off his head, I swear that you will be killed by him without even knowing where he is. Master Fuma didn't say anything, but he looked like he wasn't willing to admit defeat. My Hattori's eyes swept over all the Japanese samurai. I've decided. We'll go to Area 51 to complete the deal with Thompson. Give this letter to the CIB and ask them to save my mother." Then she said to the family samurai who brought the news, "Remember, you must explain the situation to the CIB. Tell them not to use a large army. It's best to let some Asian agents take the lead and lure Charlotte to attack. Special forces are on standby and prepare armed helicopters. Once there is a fight, they will immediately arrive at the battlefield. At the same time, let the National Guard of Nevada block the area within a radius of 100 kilometers. Only in this way can we catch or kill Charlotte." "Yes." The family samurai turned and left in a hurry. But if we do this, your mother is very likely to be killed." "You will be killed," Kenichi Yagi said. 2 tears rolled down from my Hattori's eyes, and her voice trembled slightly. "Of course, I know what will happen. If my mother dies because of this, I don't expect her to forgive me, but I know that everyone in Japan will remember her. She will become the hero of Japan because her sacrifice will be exchanged for the end of Charlotte, and it will also be exchanged for the X-secret gold technology. Japan will become a military power again, the hegemon of Asia. If all this was achieved, the value of Wendy Hattori's sacrifice would be immeasurable with money. Her memorial tablet would be placed in the Yasukuni Shrine, and her deeds would be included in the textbooks of Japan, remembered by the Japanese for generations." Kenichi Yagi suddenly bowed deeply to Mai Hattori. All the Japanese samurai followed Kenichi Yagi's example and bowed deeply to Mai Hattori. "Let's go. If we move fast enough, we may be able to see Charlotte's death with our own eyes," Mai Hattori said. "Yes." A large group of samurai bowed in response. A few minutes later, a fleet of 10 cars left the Vico Corporation's office and headed northwest. The scenery outside the car window flew by. Mai Hattori looked at the street outside the window with tears in her eyes. She secretly said in her heart, "Mother, please forgive me for making such a decision because I can't save you from Charlotte. When you were caught by his people, I knew this would happen. Please forgive me." Tears welled up in her eyes. A trace of hatred suddenly flashed in her tearful eyes. "Charlotte, you think that I don't dare to let the CIA get involved? You're wrong. This is the biggest mistake you've made in your life." Chapter 11:27. The midday sun was very strong. A lizard was catching ants by the side of the road. Its tongue was very nimble, and every time it attacked, it would reap a harvest. Behind it was an endless desert. Under the scorching sun, the desert was like a hot frying pan. In front of the road was a valley. There was a dense forest there, but the lizard didn't belong there, because it knew very well that it was the predator here, and if it entered the valley, it would become the prey. In an instant, the lizard suddenly raised its head and looked in the direction of the valley entrance. A motorcade was speeding in its direction, and it approached in the blink of an eye. Just as it was about to dodge, a cold light suddenly flew towards it. Before it could clearly see what it was, that cold light sliced through its neck. The lizard's head flew from its neck, and it flipped twice in the air before falling to the ground. Crash! Fumitaro took back a chain that was tied to an iron chain. Just now, he was the one who threw the chain from the car window and cut off the lizard's head with a sword. "Fumitaro, you're very bored," Hatano Nayana said. Fumitaro snorted. "If I can't kill Charlotte, then I'm not allowed to kill a lizard?" Hatano Nayana said, "There will be plenty of opportunities. Even if Charlotte dies, there's still his child." Mai said that his child is also a huge threat and can't be left alive. "So, sooner or later, we'll go to China and kill his woman and child." Fumitaro nodded. "I had some prejudice against Mai before, but now I admire her. We need a leader like her. The samurai's era has passed, but she has allowed us to enter the era that belongs to us." Hatano Nayana was thinking about how to spend the 1 million USD that had already been transferred to her account. She had wanted a Ferrari for a long time, and this time, Mai Hattori had helped her realize her wish. In another car, Mai Hattori was looking at the valley in front of her. The complex terrain and dense forest gave her a strange feeling. She didn't know why, but the uneasy feeling in her heart emerged again. After hesitating for a moment, she grabbed the communicator and said, "Attention, everyone. The terrain of the valley ahead is complicated. Slow down and proceed cautiously." A reply came from the communicator. After entering the valley, the convoy slowed down and continued moving forward. There was a truck coming from the opposite direction, and it was also very slow. The truck driver blew his horn, which was very rude. My Hattori pulled out a pistol and hit it on the outside of her thigh. She rolled down the window and was ready to shoot. Not only him, but the entire team was on high alert. The truck driver drove past the motorcade without stopping, heading in the direction of Las Vegas. My Hattori watched through the rearview mirror as the truck disappeared into the distance. She secretly heaved a sigh of relief and put away her gun. She laughed at herself in her heart. "I seem to be too nervous. Charlotte can't be here. He's lying in ambush somewhere in the east, waiting for me to appear. But it won't be me he'll be waiting for. It'll be the CIA, the U.S. Special Forces. I'm afraid the U.S. military has already begun to seal off the area 100 kilometers to the east, right? Charlotte, this time you won't be able to escape even if you have wings." Then, she thought of her mother, Hattori Wendy. Her expression suddenly became gloomy, and she felt a stabbing pain in her heart. The convoy continued moving forward. After 5 kilometers, due to the terrain, the road became even narrower. On both sides of the road were dense forests and steep hills. It was impossible to see the situation in the mountains. It was quiet there. There was no sound of the wind, birds, or beasts. "Why is it so quiet here?" My Hattori said. The uneasy feeling was getting stronger. Kenichi Yagyu, who was in the same car, also looked very vigilant. "It's too quiet here. It's not normal." My Hattori suddenly grabbed the communicator and said, "Stop." Boom! The explosion occurred almost at the same time as my Hattori's order. The violent explosion covered up her voice. The off-road vehicle at the front was destroyed by a TM-83 anti-tank landmine on the side of the road. The body of the vehicle was torn apart, and the people inside were all turned into minced meat. The TM-83 anti-tank landmine could even destroy a tank, let alone a civilian off-road vehicle. In front of it, the civilian off-road vehicle was equivalent to the plastic electric car sold in a nursery. Boom, boom, boom. Another 3 violent explosions were heard, and flames shot into the sky. Another 3 vehicles were blown up, and all the people in the vehicles were killed. In an instant, half of the fleet of 10 vehicles had been destroyed, and the number of people had also been reduced by half. 2 explosions occurred at the front of the convoy, and 2 explosions occurred at the back. The road in front was blocked by the wreckage of the vehicles, and the road behind was also blocked by the wreckage of the vehicles. In less than 2 seconds, my Hattori and her convoy were plunged into a hopeless situation that they would never be able to recover from. "He's here! Get out of the car! Fight!" My Hattori shouted at the top of her lungs. Fear and the sense of humiliation from being tricked surged into her heart, and her mind was in chaos. Sitting on the sofa in the back seat, Yagyu Kenichi pushed open the car doors one by one. The moment the door opened, his body rolled to the ground like a hedgehog. At that moment, a sniper rifle bullet flew into the car through the gap in the open door, and a Japanese samurai sitting next to Yagyu Kenichi was shot in the head. Blood and brain matter burst out of the car, and a large area of the roof and windows was smeared. My Hattori also pushed open the door of the passenger seat and rolled out of the car. The driver sitting next to her was not as lucky as her. As soon as he jumped out of the car, a bullet flew from the hillside and pierced his head, blowing up 1/3 of his head. Yagyu Kenichi's speed was extremely fast. After getting out of the car, his feet kicked the ground, and his body rushed into the forest on the right side of the road like an arrow. Behind him, several Japanese samurai who were too slow were sniped and killed. Almost at the same time as Yagyu Kenichi, Fumitaro rushed into the forest on the right side of the road. His body was like King Kong, but he was extremely agile. On the other side, Hatano Nayana and Kagawa Maki also rushed into the forest on the left side of the road. After that, The surviving Japanese samurai also went into the forest on the left and right side of the road. After all, there were 30 of them, and they were all Japanese samurai. They were more agile than the most elite special forces, and a few snipers could not kill all of them in a few seconds. The road was temporarily quiet. There were no gunshots, and there were no screams before death. Mai Hattori quietly raised her head from between the two bodies, and her eyes fell in the direction of the entrance of the valley. The ambush just now was very short, but she could tell that there were only 3 or 4 people around Charlotte. Otherwise, there would be more than 10 bodies on the ground. Mai Hattori's eyes fell on a Toyota off-road vehicle behind her, and then she looked at the terrain on the side of the road. The Toyota off-road vehicle was still in good condition. As long as she could get into the Toyota off-road vehicle, she could drive it away from the burning wreckage and escape from here. Just as she was thinking about this, a Japanese samurai who was lying on the ground suddenly got up from the dead bodies and ran to the side of the Toyota off-road vehicle. Bastard! Mai Hattori cursed under her breath. Then, she raised her gun and was ready to shoot the person who robbed her car. The Japanese samurai in the car quickly started the engine of the Toyota off-road vehicle, stepped on the gas pedal, and turned the steering wheel. The car suddenly turned sideways on the road. Mai Hattori suddenly lost the trajectory to shoot him. At that moment, she had the urge to get up and rush to shoot the cowardly guy. However, when she thought of the snipers on the left and right sides, she suppressed this idea. She watched as the Japanese samurai turned the car around, rammed through the burning wreckage, and sprinted in the direction of the entrance of the valley. Bang! A gunshot came from the direction of the entrance of the valley. A bullet was fired, smashing through the driver's windshield of the Toyota off-road vehicle, and then plunged into the head of the fleeing Japanese samurai. Blood and brain matter blossomed like flowers, and the Japanese samurai who was driving the car lay prone on the steering wheel. The Toyota off-road vehicle that had lost control crashed into a rock at the foot of the hill. Boom! The front of the Toyota off-road vehicle was deformed, and smoke billowed onto the hood. It completely blocked the way of escape. There was an ambush at the entrance of the valley. Mai Hattori completely dismissed the idea of driving the car to escape. She quietly took out the satellite phone and prepared to call for help. However, after taking out the satellite phone, she found that there was no signal in this place. She suddenly felt that her actions were ridiculous. With Charlotte's meticulous mind, why didn't he take measures to block the phone signal when he set up an ambush here? The measures to block the signal must have been activated when the first roadside bomb exploded. Mai Hattori left the 2 corpses and crawled on the road with her elbows and knees. The burning wreckage of the car and the Toyota off-road vehicle that had crashed into the rock on the side of the road blocked the sniper's line of sight at the entrance of the valley. This was the reason why she was still alive. She had to escape before the sniper came over. She only had this one chance, and she had to seize it. The asphalt roadside of the road was very rough. Her elbows and knees were soon skinned, and she felt a burning pain. Her full chest also inevitably rubbed against the hard and rough ground. It felt like her breasts were being polished with sandpaper, and it was extremely uncomfortable. However, in her desire to survive, she completely ignored these pains. Crawl, crawl, the forest was right in front of her. Mai Hattori suddenly got up and crashed into the forest. She entered the forest on the right. She did not choose it randomly, but it was her best choice at the moment. This was because the strongest people, Fuma Kotaro and Yagyu Kenichi, were in the forest on the right. At the same time, in the direction of the entrance of the valley, Chien-jun walked out of the forest on the side of the road. He ran to the forest on the left as fast as the wind. He did not choose it randomly, but carried out Charlotte's tactical arrangements. Charlotte did not need support, but Angumi-kan and Saima did. Chapter 1128. Bang, bang, bang. Rapid gunshots suddenly rang out from the hillside. Bullets flew down from above and hit the tree trunks. Wood chips flew and leaves fell. "He's over there!" A Japanese samurai roared. "Kill him!" Tataru Fuma roared. A few Japanese samurai who survived the ambush charged up the hillside and fired back with the 17 Malawian Quachas assault rifles in their hands. This type of rifle was an assault rifle that only the American Special Forces would be equipped with. Its overall performance was excellent. Besides being equipped with firearms like the 17 Malawian Quachas, these Japanese samurai also had the traditional ninja cold weapons of Japan. Whether it was long-range combat or close-quarters combat, they were not comparable to ordinary Special Forces soldiers. Bang, 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 bang. Both sides fired at each other, but they were all blind shots. The bullets flew in the forest and always hit trees and rocks. The probability of hitting a person was probably less than 1%. Tadaru Fuma charged in the direction of the sniper. He was not holding the 17 Malawian Quachas assault rifle in his hands, but his chain. He did not bother to use the 17 Malawian Quachas assault rifle. He thought it was a weapon only cowards would use. He was huge and strong like King Kong, but his speed was very fast. As he ran the forest, he was like a human-shaped tank. In his path, some small trees were actually knocked askew by him. The distance between the two sides was getting closer and closer. Bang, 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 bang. Gunshots rang out continuously. It made people feel that the distance between the two sides was very close. A few Japanese samurais' eyes were burning with the ferocity of wild beasts. Once they got close to their target, it would be time for them to dominate everything. No one could defeat so many ninjas in a close-quarters combat, not even Charlotte. Kill! A Japanese samurai roared and changed his magazine while running. Boom! Just as he pulled out the empty magazine, before he could throw it away, his feet suddenly turned into blood and flesh. His upper body was also pushed into the sky by the impact of the explosion. In the last second of his life, he experienced the feeling of flying, but that was also the last feeling of his life. Be careful, there's a landmine, a Japanese samurai shouted in shock. A bullet suddenly flew over and hit the ground beside him. Boom! The Japanese samurai who cried out in alarm instantly lost a leg and half of his lower abdomen. His intestines and organs, along with his corpse, flew into the air and then crashed to the ground. The thick smell of blood and gunpowder permeated the forest. All the Japanese samurai stopped in their tracks and hid behind the trees. Bang! With a gunshot, a Japanese samurai was shot in the foot and fell to the ground. Another bullet pierced his head. The shooter seemed to be able to see where everyone was hiding. As long as a body was exposed, he would be able to hit the target. His marksmanship was so accurate that it was terrifying. Master Fuma suddenly realized who he had met. It was Charlotte. He recalled my Hattori's description. She said that Charlotte was the strongest sniper in the world, and that Charlotte could kill any target at a distance of 3 kilometers. He could kill a person with a single shot from 3,000 meters away, let alone at such a close distance. He's on my left, a Japanese samurai hiding behind a tree trunk said, reminding his companions of the shooter's location. As soon as he finished speaking, a bullet flew from the left and drilled into his head. Master Fuma suddenly roared, "Don't speak." Bang! A bullet hit the tree trunk in front of Master Fuma, causing the trunk to tremble. If this American red oak was not big enough, he would have been wounded. This shot made Master Fuma completely sober up, and he also lost all illusions of underestimating his enemy. The Grim Reaper was in this forest, and he brought the pressure of death to everyone. The Japanese samurai who had survived the ambush had originally come with the idea of killing Charlotte, and they were full of confidence. But now, their confidence had collapsed. They had not even seen Charlotte's face, and their numbers had been reduced by half. They would die if they exposed their bodies, and they would die if they made a sound. They would still die if they waited like this. A Japanese samurai could no longer bear the pressure. He turned and ran down the hill. Bang! Another gunshot rang out. Boom! A landmine buried in the ground was detonated by a bullet, and the fleeing Japanese samurai was instantly blown into two. He did not step on the landmine, but the shooter could hit the trigger with a bullet and detonate it. The impact of a bullet was enough to detonate a landmine, but such a way of using landmines could make people on the battlefield tremble in fear. Bang, bang, bang. The remaining 3 Japanese samurai fired in the direction of the gunshot. Just as the 3 of them were suppressing the other party with their firepower, Master Fuma suddenly rushed out from his hiding place and rolled over like a human-shaped tank. Boom! Explosions could be heard coming from a forest on the other side. The battle on that side had also begun. If it had been a few minutes slower than the battle on this side, Master Fuma rushed to the place where the gunshot had come from in the blink of an eye, but he did not see any shooter at all, let alone Charlotte. He saw 2 bullet casings on the ground, and one of them was still smoking. Bang! Gunshots! Ah! A scream suddenly came from behind him. Master Fuma suddenly turned around. Just as he turned around, gunshots and screams came from the forest behind him. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The Japanese samurai who had rushed into the forest with him were all elites selected from Japan. Any one of them was a ninja master who could stand on their own. However, they were now being slaughtered. What was even more frightening was that he had not seen his opponent's face yet. Bang! Another gunshot rang out. This time, there were no screams, but Master Fuma knew that the last Japanese samurai who had rushed into the forest with him had already left this world. Other than the bullet that had been shot at him that had missed, his opponent had almost killed 1 person with each shot, and not a single bullet had missed its target. Now, only he and Yagyu Kenichi were left in the forest. However, Yagyu Kenichi was not there to begin with. Otherwise, he would not have been so passive. Come out. Master Fuma did not hide anymore. He stood up from behind the tree and shouted in the direction of the gunshot. You coward! What else can you do besides hiding in the dark and shooting from the shadows? China is a coward. Sick man of East Asia. His voice reverberated in the forest and then the entire valley. His voice was so loud that it could be heard even in the forest on the other side. Gunshots rang out in the forest on the opposite side. The battle was still in full swing, and the outcome had not been decided. However, the battle here seemed to be coming to an end. Just as Master Fuma's roar echoed in the valley, the gunmen who had killed people like flies finally appeared. Charlotte was like a god descending from heaven. Charlotte carried a sniper rifle on his shoulder and held a Gale assault rifle in his hand. When fighting in the jungle, using a sniper rifle from a distance was a very good choice. However, in close combat, the sniper rifle was not very useful. The body of the rifle was too long, and the shortcoming of the slow firing rate would be exposed. However, what kind of gun he used was not the point. The point was that he had experienced such a battle, but his body was very clean. There was not even a speck of dust on him, let alone mud and blood. It gave people the feeling that he was not fighting a war, but playing a shooting game like Call of Duty. He was really too clean. Just like that, the two met. Even when he saw the assault rifle in Charlotte's hand, Master Fuma stood still. His body made him look like a man-ape who ruled the forest. He glared at Charlotte fiercely. Do you dare put down the gun in your hand? Let's have a real battle between men. Sick man of East Asia. Charlotte pulled the trigger without saying a word. Click! Not a single bullet was ejected from the Gale assault rifle. Charlotte then pulled the trigger again. The Gale assault rifle made another soft click sound. This time, no bullet was ejected. Its assault rifle was out of bullets. Go to hell. Heaven wants you dead. Master Fuma suddenly rushed toward Charlotte. While he was still charging, the sickle in his hand flew out and slashed at Charlotte's neck. Charlotte's neck was not harder than the lizard he had beheaded. Master Fuma's speed was extremely fast, but Charlotte was even faster. When Master Fuma threw the sickle, his feet stepped on the ground, and his body suddenly shot backward. As soon as his body left the place where he was standing, Master Fuma's sickle cut through the space where his neck had been. It was so precise that it was as if it had been measured by a ruler. Ha ha! Master Fuma charged at Charlotte like a tank. While attacking with the sickle, he roared mockingly. Sick man of East Asia, you can't get your gun, can you? Your marksmanship is amazing, but you don't have a chance. Charlotte bent down to dodge, and the sickle cut through a young red oak tree the size of a wine cup behind him. The young red oak tree was cut in half, and the cut was as smooth as if it had been polished by a polisher. Charlotte got up from the ground. He no longer had the Gale assault rifle or the XL 2500 sniper rifle in his hand, but he had a military knife. Master Fuma suddenly froze because he saw a pistol in the holster on the outside of Charlotte's thigh, and Charlotte had the chance to pull out the pistol just now. But Charlotte did not pull out the gun, but chose to pull out the knife. "Are you kidding me?" Master Fuma said disdainfully. Charlotte said, "I could have given you a quick death, but you have called me sick man of East Asia several times. Your mouth stinks, so I won't give you a quick death. I will cut off the tendons of your hands and feet, then cut off your tongue, and finally, I will cut off your throat." "Bah!" Master Fuma spat on the ground. "Sick man of East Asia. I scolded you. You are the sick man of East Asia. All of you are." Charlotte shook his head. "Looks like I'll have to add another knife. I will cut off your D*CK, and then cut your throat. Go to hell." Master Fuma had never been looked down upon like this before. Enraged, he took a step forward, and the sickle in his hand flew out, slashing at Charlotte's throat. Charlotte did not retreat, nor did he dodge. He merely bent down to avoid the sickle the moment it flew in front of him, and in that instant his feet stomped on the ground, and his whole body shot out like a cannonball toward Master Fuma, who had not had the time to retract his sickle. Was Master Fuma fast? There was no doubt that he was fast. But in Charlotte's left and right eyes, his movements were actually as slow and clear as a slow-motion camera. Chapter 1129. As soon as the scythe was thrown out, Kotaro Fuma had a bad premonition. He was unstoppable in the Japanese samurai world by relying on his craziness and his innate strong physique, as well as his speed. The most important thing was his speed. There was nothing in the world that couldn't be broken, but speed was the only thing that couldn't be broken. Speed was also what he was most proud of, but it wasn't until Charlotte counterattacked that he saw what true speed was. Charlotte moved, and Charlotte appeared in front of him. The process was almost impossible to capture. Kotaro Fuma retreated subconsciously, but at that moment he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his right wrist that was holding the chain. His right hand couldn't hold the chain anymore. The side that was connected to the chain fell to the ground, and Kotaro Fuma finally got rid of Charlotte's attack. But that was only temporary. Before he could stand firm, Charlotte had already rushed in front of him. That speed was still so fast that he couldn't dodge. The two of them brushed past each other, and Kotaro Fuma's left wrist was also stabbed. Blood gushed out from both of his wrists, and in the blink of an eye, his pants were dyed red. In just one face-to-face encounter, he, who was known as the strongest in the Japanese samurai world, had already lost the ability to fight. To him, this was undoubtedly the most vicious mockery in the world, and the most direct trampling. A few seconds ago, he was still rejoicing that Charlotte didn't pull out his gun and made the stupidest choice. But now, he understood that it wasn't that Charlotte was stupid, but that Charlotte didn't put him in his eyes at all. Even without a gun, he could still kill him in an instant. Charlotte, who was sprinting like the wind, suddenly stopped. He turned around and looked coldly at Kotaro Fuma. Kotaro Fuma tried to move his wrists, but no matter if it was his left or right wrist, they wouldn't listen to his commands. He looked at Charlotte in disbelief and the military knife that was dripping with blood in Charlotte's hand. Was this the sick man of East Asia that he was talking about? He felt that he was talking about himself just now. Is this your Japanese ninjutsu? Which sect are you from? How come you're so lousy? Charlotte walked toward Master Fuma with a disdainful smile on his face. With two sprints, his body suddenly jumped up, and his right leg was like a battering ram as it slammed into Charlotte. His body weighed more than 200 kilograms, and when he threw his body out, it carried a terrifying force of impact. If this kick landed on someone's chest, it was very likely that it would break the person's entire body, stabbing into the lungs and heart. However, under this thunder-like heavy kick attack, Charlotte did not retreat or dodge. Instead, Taro the Maniac's right leg counterattacked. In the blink of an eye, Master Fuma's right leg was about to hit Charlotte's chest when Charlotte's body suddenly leaned back. Master Fuma's right leg stepped on his chest and face, moving in the direction behind him. At that moment, the military knife in his right hand cut the hamstring of Master Fuma's right leg. Blood gushed out from Master Fuma's right heel. Finally, blood could be seen on Charlotte's body, but it was Master Fuma's blood. Ah! Master Fuma roared, but his voice no longer had that monstrous killing intent. It was more like the howl of a beast that had lost its claws. Master Fuma's body flew over Charlotte's body. When he landed, he lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground. He struggled to get up, but he found that he could not even complete such a simple action. He had lost control of his hands and one foot. He could not stand up with one foot at all. Then he saw Charlotte walking toward him. Fear and despair filled his body in an instant, as well as hatred. However, even the monstrous hatred seemed meaningless at this moment. Charlotte walked to Master Fuma's side. Without saying a word, he raised the military knife in his hand and cut off the hamstring of Master Fuma's left leg. Now, even if he did not kill Master Fuma would be a cripple. "Do you have anything else to say?" Charlotte said coldly. "Because I'm going to cut off your tongue soon. I'm a man of my word." "Bah!" Master Fuma opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of blood at Charlotte. "Chinese pig." Just as he finished speaking, Charlotte inserted the military knife in his hand into his mouth and twisted it hard. Blood immediately flowed out from the corners of Master Fuma's mouth uncontrollably. When Charlotte pulled out the military knife, the blood washed out a part of Master Fuma's tongue out of little son's mouth. Boo-hoo! Master Fuma wanted to curse, but he could no longer make a sound. All that came out of his mouth were indistinct whimpers. "You're a courageous person. You didn't beg me for mercy. So, after I cut off your D*CK, I'll immediately cut your throat so that you can leave faster. Are you ready?" Charlotte moved the military knife between Master Fuma's legs. "I'm going to torture you and then kill you." This was what Charlotte was doing. No matter how one looked at it, what he was doing was extremely brutal. However, he appeared to be polite and even a little gentle, giving off a very strange feeling. Master Fuma's breathing suddenly quickened. He subconsciously wanted to crawl backward, but at this moment, the military knife in Charlotte's hand stabbed between his legs and cut horizontally. "Whoa-wah!" Taro Fuma wailed in extreme pain. Charlotte waved his right hand, and the extremely sharp military knife instantly cut through Master Fuma's neck. Blood spurted out of Master Fuma's carotid artery. The blood spurted up to a height of 2 meters, like a fountain made of blood. Master Fuma, whose reputation was second only to Yagyu Kenichi, had been crushed and humiliated in the Japanese samurai world. Charlotte picked up the Gale assault rifle and the XL 2500 sniper rifle that he had thrown on the ground. Then he shifted his gaze to the side. A second later, he quickly climbed up a redwood tree beside him. The American redwood was the tallest tree in the world. Some of the 1,000-year-old redwoods could grow to a height of 130 meters, which was equivalent to the height of a 40-story building. Although this redwood was not a 1,000-year-old tree, nor was it 130 meters tall, it was at least 70 to 80 meters tall. It was like a pillar that held up the sky. However, Charlotte did not climb to the highest canopy because it was not necessary for him at all. After climbing to a height of about 50 meters, he stopped and stood on a branch. Standing at a height of 50 meters, he was equivalent to a sniper who had climbed to the rooftop of a building. His field of vision was a panoramic view of the area within a radius of several kilometers. He quickly saw the target he wanted to kill the most from the direction he had just judged Mai Hattori. In his far-sighted vision, Mai Hattori was running into the depths of the forest in a sorry state. She was holding a pistol in her hand, and her clothes had long been torn by branches and thorns, revealing a large area of her snow-white and delicate skin. Mai Hattori was one of the women with the most delicate skin he had ever encountered. How could her delicate skin withstand the cutting of branches and thorns? Charlotte's brain gave him a set of data. Target 1543 meters. Wind speed 5 meters per second. Level 3 breeze. Relative humidity 60%. When this set of data appeared, he raised the XL 2500 sniper rifle in his hand. However, just as he locked onto my Hattori's back and was about to pull the trigger, my Hattori's body was suddenly blocked by a very tall redwood. He waited for 5 seconds, but she did not appear. Charlotte frowned. It was indeed difficult to avoid obstacles like this when using a sniper rifle in the forest. At a distance of more than 1,500 meters, he could easily kill any target, but in the dense forest, one tree after another blocked his line of sight, as well as the trajectory of the bullet. It was impossible for him to shoot my Hattori in such an environment. The simple reason was that the bullet needed a little more than a second to travel. After looking at it for a second, my Hattori would be able to step over a tree, and that tree would become her most reliable cover. You can't escape, Charlotte thought to himself. He put away the sniper rifle and prepared to jump down from the tree to chase after Hattori Mai. Bang! Suddenly, a gunshot came from the opposite hillside, followed by a woman's crazed scream. You're dead. Bang, bang, bang. It was a series of concentrated gunshots. Charlotte looked over, but found that Engyumi Khan had been blocked by a woman behind a rock, not daring to show his head. Engyumi Khan seemed to have used up all his bullets and was in a rather awkward and dangerous situation. Engyumi Khan was the sharpshooter of the Zodiac Squad, but fighting in such an environment required him to use up more bullets to get close to his usual level. The woman was obviously a ninja who was good at making use of the environment. She had been conserving her ammunition, waiting for Engyumi Khan to use up all his bullets before rushing out to suppress Engyumi Khan. Next to her, a Japanese samurai armed with an 17 Malawian kwacha's assault rifle charged at Engyumi Khan. He was only about 20 meters away from Engyumi Khan's hiding spot, and with his speed, he only needed 5 seconds to get around the rock and shoot Engyumi Khan. But Engyumi Khan was suppressed by the woman's firepower. He didn't know that the Japanese samurai was charging at him. Charlotte instantly raised the XL 2500 sniper rifle in his hand, and then pulled the trigger. Bang! In the opposite mountain forest, Hatano Milk, who was suppressing Intani Mian with her 17 Malawian kwacha's assault rifle, fell to the ground at the same time as the gunshots rang out. A fist-sized hole appeared on her back. The suppressive firepower disappeared, and the charging Japanese samurai looked back. A bullet whizzed through the air and pierced right into his head. Until he died, he didn't understand what happened. He was like this, but wasn't Atano Nayana the same? Engyumi Khan carefully poked his head out from behind the rock, and then saw Hatano Nayana on the ground, and the Japanese samurai who had already rushed under the rock. He froze for a moment, and suddenly understood something. He gave a thumbs up to the opposite mountain forest. The battle on the opposite hillside was also over. Charlotte didn't put away his gun. His eyes suddenly moved to the original hiding spot, which was the place where Akiko Tsukino caught the snake last night. At a glance, he saw Akiko Tsukino and an old man standing in a small clearing in the forest. According to Akiko Tsukino's description, he determined the identity of the old man. He was Akiko Tsukino's master, Kenichi Yagyu. Akiko Tsukino didn't move, and neither did Kenichi Yagyu. He didn't know how long they had been like this, but it felt like they had been staring at each other since yesterday. In such a situation, Charlotte only needed to pull the trigger to solve the problem. But just as he was about to do so, he suddenly remembered what Akiko Tsukino said in his ear last night. At that time, Akiko Tsukino, who was whiter than the moon, was curled up in his arms, her fingers drawing circles on his chest, and her voice was very gentle. "Boss, my master will definitely come to me tomorrow, and he knows how to find me. Don't interfere in the duel between me and him. Let me solve the problem between us according to the tradition of our IGA sect. But if you can't beat him, he will kill you. Do you want me to watch you die?" He said. Akiko Tsukino said, "I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid that if you help me, I won't be able to get rid of his shadow in the future. Promise me this is related to my glory and my samurai cultivation. No matter what happens to me tomorrow, don't interfere in the duel between me and him. Okay?" He nodded. This memory flashed quickly in Charlotte's mind, and he put down the XL 2500 sniper rifle in his hand. Putting oneself in a life-or-death situation without asking for help seemed very stupid, But there were people like that in this world. Akiko Tsukino was one of them. She had betrayed her motherland, her people, and her master. She had been suffering during this period, and only the traditional way of the IGA sect could wash away this pain. Charlotte understood her, so he supported her. Charlotte came down from the redwood tree and chased after my Hattori. Chapter 11:30. In an open space in the forest. Akiko. Yagyu Kenichi broke the oppressive silence. You are a disgrace to all of us in Country R. Why did you do this? What did he give you? It's worth it for you to forget your ancestors, forget that you are a Country R, and forget the samurai spirit that you believe in. Akiko Tsukino was silent for a moment before she said, When I was begging on the street and being insulted, why didn't anyone tell me that I was a Country R? My father saved me when I was about to starve to death, and he was a Chinese. He sent me to your kendo club. Because you owe my father your life, you took me in and taught me ninjutsu. I was bullied by other senior brothers in your kendo club. They called me a stray dog, beat me, scolded me, and teased me, but you never cared. When I fought with them, you always punished me, not them. Everything that I have learned, I have to rely on myself to figure it out and practice hard. You have never thought of cultivating me, have you? But even so, I still respect you. I did before and I still do. If you die under my sword, I will mourn you every year. Humph. Yagyu Kenichi was furious. Women are women. Are you trying to use the past to exchange for my sympathy? Let me tell you, I don't have any mercy here. I just want to figure out one thing. What did he give you? Is it worth it for you to betray your country and people? Is the answer important to you? Akiko Tsukino said. Yes, I want to know. Yagyu Kenichi looked very stubborn. Akiko Tsukino said, He gave me everything I wanted. Do you understand what I mean? Yagyu Kenichi did not speak, but from his cold expression, it was obvious that he was not satisfied with such an answer. A gentle smile appeared at the corner of Tsukino Anzu's mouth. Before I met him, I was just a killing machine. Whether it was the elderly or the children, I would kill them without any hesitation. My world is dark. There is no temperature, no content, empty. I don't even know why I'm alive. But after meeting him, there was a ray of sunshine in my world and a little warmth. It was him who made me feel like I was still alive. Later on, it was also him who let me experience the joy of being a woman, let me experience the feeling of loving someone and being loved. Now, my world only has him. I am willing to do anything for him. I'm also willing to sacrifice my everything for him. Do you understand what I'm saying? Shameless. Kenichi Yagyu roared. You're a shameless bitch. Akiko Tsukino gently shrugged. I knew you would scold me like this, just like how you scolded me in the kendo dojo. But I don't feel anything anymore. If you're done cursing, let's do it. Otherwise, when our people arrive, you won't have the chance to attack me. Yagyu Kenichi did not know that if Charlotte wanted him dead, he would already be a dead man. He would not have had the chance to speak so righteously in front of Akiko Tsukino. Yagyu Kenichi suddenly approached Akiko Tsukino. His right hand was holding the handle of the samurai sword, and his left hand was holding the scabbard. His whole body was in front of his right shoulder like a top bow, ready to launch a fatal blow at any time. Akiko Tsukino also moved. She was exactly the same as Yagyu Kenichi. She walked forward quickly, holding the handle of the sword in her right hand and the scabbard in her left. She was also like a moving top bow. The two bows collided in the blink of an eye. No arrows were shot, but two samurai swords were unsheathed. Ding! There was a crisp sound, and sparks flew everywhere. The two of them immediately separated. After a few tenths of a second, the two samurai swords collided again. Then, the two samurai swords were entangled like two whirlwinds. They slashed at different angles, so fast that it was difficult for the naked eye to catch them. The sound of metal colliding was like the frequency of raindrops hitting a glass window, and the sparks produced by the collision never extinguished. Akiko Tsukino, who was fighting, was like an enraged tigress, full of power and wildness. Although Yagyu Kenichi was of a certain age, He did not look old at all when he was fighting. On the contrary, he looked especially brave, and he was more like a male tiger in a predatory state. One mountain could not accommodate two tigers. Only one of the two tigers from Japan's IGA sect could survive. Ding! There was a crisp sound. The two people who were fighting each other separated. Akiko Tsukino's lower abdomen was cut open, and blood flowed out of the wound. If she had been any slower just now, her lower abdomen would have been cut open by Yagyu Kenichi, and her intestines would have spilled all over the ground. There was also a wound on Yagyu Kenichi's right arm. Some blood flowed out of the wound and wet his shoulder. If he had been any slower just now, his entire right arm would have been separated from his body. There was a pause during the duel. The two of them looked at each other, and the killing intent in their eyes could cut through the air. Yagyu Kenichi's famous sword, which had a history of 200 years, was full of cracks, while Akiko Tsukino's samurai sword did not have any cracks. This was also the reason why Yagyu Kenichi's injury was more serious than Akiko Tsukino's when both of them were injured. How is this possible? My sword is not as good as yours. Yagyu Kenichi could not believe it. Akiko Tsukino said calmly, "My blade is made of mystic gold X, which is the hardest metal in the world. He made it for me when he had nothing to do. He also said that if I could kill you, he would give me a samurai sword made of mystic gold X, which can even pass airport security. Old things are not necessarily good. You should accept some new things." Damn it, Yagyu Kenichi moved his feet, and his body was like a javelin thrown out, stabbing at Akiko Tsukino. The samurai sword in his hand, which was full of cracks, was the spearhead of the javelin. Akiko Tsukino's feet stepped on the ground, and her body suddenly shot out, stabbing at Yagyu Kenichi. The two samurai swords collided in the air, and the tips of the swords collided. When the tips of the two samurai swords collided, Yagyu Kenichi suddenly moved the blade away, ignoring the exposed chest in front of Akiko Tsukino, and stabbed at Akiko Tsukino's chest. He wanted to perish together with her. Akiko Tsukino's body did not have any leverage in the air. Her body was in the state of an arrow, like spilled water that could not be retrieved. Yagyu Kenichi had chosen to perish together with her under such circumstances, and she could not refuse. The swords staggered, and their bodies collided in an instant. Akiko Tsukino's samurai sword pierced through Yagyu Kenichi's chest. Yagyu Kenichi's 200-year-old famous sword also pierced Akiko Tsukino's chest. Ding! There was a crisp sound. Pa! The 200-year-old famous sword broke in the middle, and the tip of the sword fell to the ground. The two bodies fell to the ground, and Akiko Tsukino held Yagyu Kenichi, preventing him from falling immediately. Yagyu Kenichi spat out a mouthful of blood. What happened? Akiko Tsukino moved closer to his ear and whispered, "This is the ex-mystic gold bra that he made for me when he had nothing to do. Even bullets can't penetrate it, so your sword can't pierce it. Look, he loves me so much. He knew that I was going to duel with you, so he thought of everything for me. Bitch, bitch." Yagyu Kenichi stared at Akiko Tsukino's towering chest, looking unwilling to die. "Do you want to see the ex-mystic gold bra first?" Then she said, "I'm sorry, but he's the only one who can see my chest. Also, you can't call me a bitch anymore." Yagyu Kenichi spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body fell back softly. Akiko Tsukino let go, and Yagyu Kenichi's body fell to the ground. She lifted her clothes and saw the silver bra. Although it had been stabbed, there was not even a scratch on the bra. However, she didn't like it because it was too hard and made her breasts uncomfortable. Unfortunately, Yagyu Kenichi couldn't see the bra that had killed him again. "You have to accept something new." Akiko Tsukino looked at Yagyu Kenichi's body and said to herself. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. Akiko Tsukino looked over and saw Qianjun emerging from the forest. His body was covered with mud and some small wounds. It was not difficult to see that he had experienced a hard battle. Except for Charlotte, no one had it easy in this battle. After all, the opponent was the elite force of the Japanese samurai world, which was very difficult to deal with. Qianjun glanced at Yagyu Kenichi, who was lying on the ground. "Are you done?" Akiko Tsukino nodded. "Are you done?" Qianjun said, "We are also done. Angumi-kan and Sayemu will meet up soon. Where's the boss?" Akiko Tsukino said, "He should be going after my Hattori." "Let's go find him," Qianjun said. My Hattori nodded and then walked into the depths of the forest. They didn't go far before Sayemu and Angumi-kan caught up with them. The four continued to move forward. They didn't have to worry about going in the wrong direction because the Zodiac team had their own code mark in the jungle. Moreover, this code mark would definitely point to the wrong opponent if it was interpreted by outsiders. At the same time, in Thompson's office at Area 51 Garrison Headquarters. "What?" Thompson said to the phone. "There was a gunfight in the direction of Las Vegas? And there was an explosion? Nonsense. That was my people's drill." "I'm sorry." A driver explained the situation to the patrol team. He said that he couldn't get through to the phone and couldn't call the police, so he asked our patrol team for help. "Idiot. Bring me the driver. I want to ask him myself." Thompson was furious. "Yes, Brigadier General. I'll bring the driver here right away." Thompson put down the phone and walked back and forth in front of the window. He thought to himself, "Mr. James, you have to F***King get out of there. I can't buy much time." He suddenly picked up the phone again, dialed the number he had just called, and said rudely, "Forget it. I'll come out and see him. Don't let him in. Tell him to wait for me there." "Yes, Brigadier General." Thompson put down the phone again, then opened the drawer and took out a Brazilian cigar from the cigar box. He slowly cut off the tail with a cigarette cutter, lit it, and took a deep puff. A globe on the desk began to spin slowly. "Where should I buy an island?" Thompson began to think about it. Chapter 11:31. The forest was silent. Occasionally, two birds would fly up and fly away in the blink of an eye. My Hattori stepped over a dead tree, but she was tripped by the vines wrapped around the dead tree and fell heavily to the ground. She tried to get up with her hands on the ground, but she only got up a little before she fell back down again. She was so tired that her whole body seemed to be drained. She didn't have a trace of strength left. Her lungs were burning hot, and there was a feeling of tearing. It was very uncomfortable. After taking a few deep breaths and catching her breath, my Hattori struggled to get up from the ground. No matter how uncomfortable it was, she had to get up and continue running. Otherwise, she would die. She tried to run a few steps, but she couldn't run anymore. She could only walk. I knew that Charlotte would ambush me on the way to Area 51, but those fools believed that it was an opportunity to get the X-secret gold technique. Warriors are warriors. They are brainless. You deserve to die, but you made me suffer. Bastards. My Hattori muttered to herself. Her heart was full of hatred. She hated everyone, including the Japanese samurai who were already dead. The easiest person to forgive was oneself. But as far as the whole thing went, if it weren't for the Japanese samurai who repeatedly pressured her, she would have been hiding in the Vico Corporation office. How could she fall into Charlotte's trap? A river appeared in front of her. It was about 6 or 7 meters wide, and the current was very fast. My Hattori came to the river and took a look. She was about to cry. The deepest part of the river was almost 2 meters deep. If the current was gentle, she could swim across it. But the current was so fast, and with her current condition, she would drown in the river. Amidst her despair, my Hattori looked upstream and discovered that not far from her, there was a dead tree lying across the river. It was a very large redwood tree, and it looked like a natural single-log bridge. My Hattori's heart suddenly became excited. She moved her tired feet upstream. She looked back as she walked. The forest behind him was quiet. There was no one and no sound. She relaxed a little. Charlotte did not chase after her. No matter what the reason was, she was safe in this situation. When she reached the single-plank bridge, my Hattori suddenly thought of something. She took out her phone and glanced at it. A smile instantly appeared on her face. Her phone didn't have a signal before, but when she got here, her phone already had a bar of signal. The signal was strong enough to make a call. My Hattori couldn't wait to dial the number. Roar! The angry roar of a wild beast could be heard from the other side. My Hattori, who had yet to finish dialing, raised her head in a panic. Suddenly, she saw two black bears standing on the other side of the single-log bridge, one male and one female. The male bear weighed about 800 kilograms, while the female bear weighed about 700 kilograms. They were both very strong. Mayatori suddenly felt that the god of fate was playing tricks on her. She had just seen a glimmer of hope, but in the blink of an eye, it had brought her a greater blow. If it was a variety show, there should be commercials at this time. Unfortunately, this was not the case. The two black bears found my Hattori standing on the other side of the single-log bridge. The male bear suddenly climbed onto the single-log bridge and quickly rushed towards my Hattori. The female bear followed closely behind, also very fast. Bears were ferocious beasts that could climb trees. They were also very agile on the single-log bridge. In the blink of an eye, the two black bears rushed to the middle of the single-log bridge. My Hattori did not have the time to call for help. She hurriedly pulled out the gun at her waist and fired at the male bear at the front. Bang! Bang! My Hattori fired 2 shots, and both bullets hit the male bear's body. However, the bear's skin was very thick, and with the protection of the muscle tissue, not only did the male bear not fall, but it also stimulated its bestial nature. With a roar, it sped up and sprinted towards my Hattori. Its huge body was like a high-speed tank. Bang, bang, bang. My Hattori quickly pulled the trigger, and bullets shot out from the muzzle. All of them hit the male bear at the front, and 2 of them hit the male bear's head. The male bear's body swooped down from the single-log bridge under the influence of inertia and continued to hit my Hattori. Because of panic and shock, my Hattori kicked a stone when she retreated. Her body suddenly lost balance, and she fell to the ground on her back. The female bear suddenly rushed up. My Hattori pulled the trigger, and the gun made a clicking sound. It was out of bullets. Roar! The female bear slapped the gun in my Hattori's hand, and then opened its bloody mouth to bite down on my Hattori's head. My Hattori closed her eyes in despair. However, as she closed her eyes and waited for death, the female bear's bloody mouth did not bite down on her head. She waited for a second, and then opened her eyes. Then, she saw the female bear's body pressing down on her. On its forehead was a military knife that did not even reach the hilt. She was saved, but my Hattori was not happy at all. She knew very well who saved her at this time, and what she was going to face. Compared to facing that person, she would rather be buried in the black bear's stomach. The female bear's body was pressing down on her, and my Hattori could not move. The only thing she could move was her head. She heard footsteps, and then she turned her head to look. At that moment, her persistence, her faith, and everything else collapsed. It was Charlotte who walked towards my Hattori, and he was also the one who saved my Hattori at the critical moment. Do you know why I saved you? Charlotte walked to my Hattori, who was being pressed down by the female bear. My Hattori did not speak. She gasped for air, and the female bear's body made it difficult for her to breathe. However, more than that, it was Charlotte's fear. I saved you to kill you with my own hands, Charlotte said, and then he kicked the female bear's body. The female bear that weighed a few hundred kilograms was kicked off my Hattori's body. My Hattori suddenly turned over to pick up the gun. Charlotte did not stop her, but just looked at her quietly. My Hattori grabbed the gun, raised her arm, and pulled the trigger at Charlotte. Ka! 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 She pulled the trigger frantically, but not a single bullet came out of the pistol. All her actions were out of survival instinct, and she did not think at all. In fact, even if she wanted to think, she could not, because her mind was still blank. If there was anything else in her mind, it would be fear. My Hattori threw the gun at Charlotte. Charlotte moved, and he grabbed my Hattori's wrist with one hand, and then he squeezed it hard. Ah! My Hattori suddenly screamed, and the gun fell to the ground. Charlotte said lightly, "You want to kill me like this? You're the most boring opponent I have ever met. Let me go. Let me go." My Hattori kicked Charlotte's foot. Charlotte did not dodge, but she felt like she had kicked a stone. Charlotte pushed his hand, and my Hattori suddenly fell to the ground. My Hattori lay on the stone beach by the river. She did not seem to feel the blunt damage caused by the stone to her butt and back. She shed tears and looked pitiful. I was wrong, Charlotte, I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I promise you, I will never do anything to hurt you again. I can also be a double agent for you. Don't you want to surpass Lockheed Martin Corporation? I know Lockheed Martin Corporation very well, and I can provide you with all the information about Lockheed Martin Corporation. In Japan, I am from a Japanese Secret Service. I can provide you with information about Japan, okay? Don't kill me, okay? Charlotte looked at my Hattori indifferently. What my Hattori said was very tempting, but he was not moved at all because he knew that a poisonous woman like my Hattori would never sincerely surrender to him. When he was still alive, she might not dare to act rashly, but once the 2-year period was up and he left this world, the first thing my Hattori would do would be to deal with his wife and children. That was what he thought in his heart, and he also wanted to kill her, but Charlotte had a smile on his face. Okay, you're very useful. Also, we have slept together, after all. A day as husband and wife means a lifetime of love. I'm not the kind of man who will turn his back on me after sleeping with you. Really? My Hattori didn't expect that she would be able to convince Charlotte so easily. It was so easy that she couldn't believe it. Charlotte said, "Of course it's true, but you have to show some sincerity. Tell me, where are Yin, Fo, and Augustman?" "They are at the Caesar Grand Hotel in Las Vegas. They have set up a trap there. Don't look for them." My Hattori slowly relaxed. I wanted to use them as bait, but those two guys didn't fall for it all. The FA organization has its own action plan. Once you show up, they will come out to kill you. At this time, I am afraid they are in the East. Do you know who the leader of the FA organization is? My Hattori shook her head. I really don't know. Your father is a member of the FA organization. Even he doesn't know. How could I know? Charlotte said, I believe you. Hattori then said, please let my mother go. I am working for you now. You can't kill my mother. I know you hired the killer. As long as you call him, he will let my mother go. Charlotte said, then what can you give me? My Hattori was stunned for a moment, and then she stood up. She unzipped her coat, revealing her snow-white skin. In the open coat, a pair of plump and trembling breasts could be seen, as if they would jump out of her chest at any time. Her flat belly, round navel, and the elastic band of the crucial fabric peeking out from under her pants. Even in a state of survival, she could still enter the state of seduction in such a short time. That's not what I want. I want the intelligence of the American Arms Dealers Alliance, led by Lockheed Martin Corporation. I will give you a minute to sort it out and then tell me. I will call the killer now and ask him to let your mother go. Charlotte took out a cell phone, dialed the number, and then walked to the river. As he walked, he said, Mechanic, let Hattori Wendy go immediately. I will pay you the money I owe you. Well, okay. Happy working with you. Actually, his phone screen was in a black state. Half a minute later, Charlotte came back to his senses. Standing in front of him, my Hattori was already in a primitive state. Her skin was whiter than snow, her breasts were round, and her back was white and plump. Her whole body exuded the aura of a mature person. In the primeval forest, he saw such a woman on the green grass, without any cover, blending in with the beautiful environment. Did this man not have any bad thoughts in his mind? Charlotte was not surprised at all, because when he pretended to make a phone call, his eyes and ears were monitoring my Hattori's every move. He was very clear about my Hattori's thoughts. She was trying to make a greater effort to survive. As for him, his plan was to make use of her one last time, and then kill her. In the composition of human nature, the proportion of black was more than 50%. Chapter 1132. My Hattori covered her plump breasts with one hand, closed her legs, and lowered her head, looking very shy and pitiful. Her eyes were filled with tears, as if they were about to flow out. Who would have the heart to hurt such a woman? Only if he had a heart of stone. Charlotte walked towards her, and as he walked, he looked at the multi-function watch on his wrist. At this time, there were still 5 minutes before he planned to retreat. He stopped in front of my Hattori and said in a flat tone, Why do you have to do this? My Hattori suddenly threw herself into Charlotte's arms and sobbed. Maybe you don't believe me, but I still want to tell you that I love you. My love for you is stronger than the women around you. In France, you had sex with me, but then you abandoned me. I began to hate you. It was like a virus, slowly spreading and swallowing me, so I did some crazy things. But you have to believe me, as long as you give me a chance, I will really turn over a new leaf. As an obedient woman, I can give you everything I have, okay? Then tell me the information about the 5 major arms dealers in the United States, Charlotte said, and then he put a hand on her slender waist and gently slid it down. This was a gesture of acceptance and affection. Lockheed Martin Corporation originally wanted Thompson to take over the position of CEO of Forsen, but it didn't work out in the end. After the election of the board of directors, a person named Kirsten became the new CEO. As my Hattori spoke, one of her hands moved stealthily. She pulled open one of the plastic tubes and placed her hand inside. Her hand was very gentle and skillful, typical of Japanese cuisine. Charlotte frowned slightly. Thompson, I remember him, Jack's boss. He was the one who made the Predator-B drone and gave it to the FA organization. Brigadier General Thompson of Area 51 actually worked for you. Your ability surprised me, but only a man like you can conquer my heart. My Hattori said that not only was she pleasing the man in front of her in that aspect, she was also pleasing the man in front of her with her mouth. Thompson of Area 51 and Thompson of Lockheed Martin Corporation had no interaction. They were two completely different people. What kind of person is Kirsten? Charlotte had no interest in Thompson, who had failed to rise to the top. My Hattori said, this new CEO is very mysterious. He hasn't worked at Lockheed Martin Corporation before. Even I don't know where he came from. However, because of my relationship with the Ground Self-Defense Force, I was still the administrative assistant of the new CEO. Trust me, I will find out his background and tell you. Is that all you know? You're the executive assistant to the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Charlotte said. I know what you want to know. Let me tell you, the 5 major arms dealer alliances led by Lockheed Martin Corporation are also involved in the Shepherd Project. The funds and equipment for the Shepherd Project are also funded by the 5 major arms dealers. The 5 major arms dealers are actually involved? What else do you know? For Charlotte, this was a very valuable piece of information. My Hattori slid down against Charlotte's chest. Charlotte grabbed her shoulder. Answer my question. My Hattori put on a pitiful look. If you want me, I will answer your question. I will use my body and my love to dissolve the hatred in your heart. You can hit me, and I can bear any degree of violence. Charlotte, my Hattori moved her head closer. She took off her clothes, showed off her flirtatiousness, and threw herself at him. This was normal at any other time, but in the current environment, it was absolutely abnormal. Charlotte was suddenly alarmed. His left and right eyes suddenly twitched, and he entered X-ray and scanning mode. With one glance, he saw the condition of my Hattori's mouth. One of her teeth was obviously wider than the rest, and the shape was too perfect. There were no signs of wear and tear. How could a person in her 20s not have any wear and tear on her teeth? Charlotte's gaze instantly locked onto her tooth and penetrated it. A 3-dimensional image of the tooth appeared in his mind. The middle of the tooth was hollow, and there was a liquid capsule hidden inside. However, it was definitely not an ordinary liquid capsule. There was a sharp needle at the top of the capsule, which could easily pierce a person's body and then inject the liquid into the muscle. My Hattori's mouth was about to reach his body. Charlotte's hand that was grabbing her shoulder pushed forward, and her open mouth could not reach it. The Shepherd Project is targeting the 6 faceless 50 statues that were brought back from Israel. What does that have to do with the 5 major arms dealers? Tell me, what else do you know? Tell me, and you can do whatever you want. Charlotte's voice was very gentle, and his eyes were also very gentle. He was completely moved and a man who was captivated by beauty. Didn't I tell you? If you want me, I will tell you. Tears flowed down from my Hattori's eyes, and she looked very sad. Believe me, I've already asked the killer to let your mother go. Don't you believe me? You are very important to me, and I will not hurt you again. Charlotte said, you can't lie to me. My Hattori's tears flowed more quickly. Charlotte was full of tenderness and connection. I swear, believe me, I will not hurt you again. My Hattori hesitated. At Lockheed Martin Corporation, I accidentally heard the new CEO, Kirsten, answer a phone call. He seemed very polite. No, not polite, but obedient. In that phone call, he mentioned Area 51 and the Shepherd Project. I suspect that he takes orders from someone. Takes orders from someone? Who do you suspect? I can't. The new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation is very mysterious. I used the intelligence power of Secret Service to collect some information about him, but I found nothing. He has no birthplace, no school he graduated from, and no resume from other companies. He just appeared out of thin air. Then do you know what the Shepherd Project is researching? I only know that one of the purposes is to study the mysterious energy field of the mysterious gold X and those statues. I don't know the rest, but you can rest assured that I will help you find out all this. I am willing to be an ambush for you in the United States and Japan. My love, take me. My Hattori opened her mouth and moved closer to Charlotte. Xiaolei held her head in his hands. It looked like a coordinated action, but just as the two of them were about to join together, he suddenly twisted his hands behind his back. Crack! There was a crisp sound. My Hattori's head hung weakly on his shoulder and then fell to the ground softly. From her open cherry mouth, the top of the tooth that hid the venom capsule had been broken, revealing a sharp, venom-releasing sting. A viper was indeed a viper. From the beginning, Charlotte never thought of letting her go, and she, from the beginning, had been planning to kill Charlotte. She did not hesitate to sacrifice her body and divert Charlotte's attention with information that interested him. She even knelt between Charlotte's legs. She planned everything and saw Charlotte fall in her trap step by step, but she could not have guessed this ending. Charlotte tidied up his body, then closed her mouth and eyes, and covered her body with the clothes she took off. But my Hattori could no longer feel any of this. Do you think I can let someone like you go? You are already at this point, but instead of thinking about regret and begging for mercy, you are thinking about how to kill me. If I let you go, the moment I turn around, you will probably call the CIA and tell them my location, right? There's one more thing I want to tell you. I didn't let your mother go. She should be dead by now. A woman who can give birth to a daughter like you. A woman who can manage the Hattori family for you. I don't want her to seek revenge on me in the future. So, I have to eliminate the root of the problem and create a safe environment for my child. I'm sorry, rest in peace. Charlotte said, then drew a cross with his hand. He didn't realize that when he drew the cross, he used his left hand, and Catholics all use their right hand. As the Son of God of the Rescue Society, his behavior was very unprofessional. Charlotte looked at the multifunction watch on his wrist again. At this time, there were still 10 seconds before he planned to retreat. Everything was under his control, and there was not the slightest deviation. The sound of footsteps came from the forest. Qianjun, Akiko Tsukino, Engyomi Khan, and Saima walked out from behind a row of redwood trees, and all four of them had wounds on their bodies. This was especially true for Tsukino Anko, who had a hole in her chest, from which a small piece of silver mystic gold bra could be seen. The bra was very eye-catching. The four of them came to Charlotte's side and saw my Hattori lying on the ground. Is she dead? Akiko Tsukino said. Charlotte nodded. Dead. Let me check. This woman is too cunning. We have to be on guard against her faking death. Engyomi Khan bent down and reached out to take a look at the clothes covering my Hattori's hand. Charlotte didn't stop him. My Hattori wasn't his woman, but Engyomi Khan was his brother. Dead, Engyomi Khan said, and the corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a smirk. So big, her skin is so white. Akiko Tsukino frowned. When we go back, I will tell this to Yelena. I want to see what she thinks. Akiko, why are you? Okay, after we leave here, how about I treat you to a drink? No matter how expensive it is. Engyomi Khan said. Akiko Tsukino said, that's more like it. It's over, let's go. Charlotte said. The four Zodiac squads, Changyang, followed Charlotte into the depths of the forest. Leaving by the road was a very stupid choice. According to the plan, They needed to travel through the forest for 50 kilometers and then reach a small town. Over there, the brothers of the fraternity had already prepared everything. When crossing the single-log bridge, Charlotte looked back at my Hattori, who was lying on the grass. My Hattori was dead. Lying on the grass, she was so quiet, without the slightest danger. A woman like her would only be charming when she was dead. "Boss, what are we going to do next?" Sayamo asked. Charlotte said, "Enter Area 51. Saimu was startled. "You really want to go in? That's crazy. That place is still a forbidden zone for all spies and agents. No one can sneak in. Then I have to say goodbye to Yelena. I have to make her pregnant with my child," Angumi-kan said. Akiko Tsukino didn't speak. She just looked at Charlotte, her eyes full of admiration and admiration. Not to mention Area 51. Even if it was hell, she was willing to accompany him. Charlotte said, "This has nothing to do with you. I'm going in, not you. I have a new task for you. Investigate a man named Kirsten. He is the new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation. Even my Hattori doesn't know his background. He is very mysterious." "Boss, it's not a problem to investigate the guy named Kirsten, but how can you enter Area 51 alone? That's too dangerous," Chien-jun said. Charlotte smiled. "I have my ways." "Well, stop talking. Let's go. We have 2 hours to finish the rest of the journey." Akiko Tsukino suddenly accelerated and ran. Her plump buttocks swayed, creating a beautiful ripple. The 4 men chased after her. Chapter 1133. It was impossible to cover up what happened in the valley, and Thompson bought almost an hour for Charlotte. After that, a large number of CIB agents, Delta Special Forces, SEAL Special Forces, National Guard, and people from the FA organization all rushed to the valley. The bombed vehicles, the corpses of the Japanese samurai. Everything here was shocking to see. A helicopter flew over the valley and landed on the road. Williams walked down from the helicopter and went straight to the scene under the protection of a group of CIB field agents. An intelligence officer gave a simple verbal report to Williams. "Boss, we found electronic devices in the forest that blocked cell phone signals. At the time of the incident, there was no signal here. We found fragments of landmines at the scene. The gunman used 2 types of landmines, an MS-3 anti-infantry landmine and a TM-83 anti-tank landmine. Both landmines were made in Russia." Williams interrupted the intelligence officer's report. "Russian-made landmines? How does this have anything to do with Russia?" The intelligence officer said, "It's not clear at the moment. In addition, we found a lot of shells and bullets from Gale assault rifles and XL 2500 sniper rifles on the battlefield. These 2 guns were made by Rema Group." Williams's expression suddenly changed. "What else?" The intelligence officer said, "That's all for now. Our trace experts are still investigating the scene. No one can leave no traces in a battle of this scale. The gunman will definitely leave traces." Williams said, "Go do your job. Write me a detailed report when you get back." "Yes, boss." The intelligence officer turned and left, then climbed up the hill on the right. Williams suddenly thought of a woman, but just as he was about to call the intelligence officer back to ask more questions, Yen Fo walked over. "Mr. Williams, our people are searching further away. They are following some traces to find the woman you are looking for, my Hattori." Yen Fo seemed to have seen through Williams's mind. Williams said, "I have a question I don't understand. My Hattori's mother was executed in the East. She didn't go to the East to save her mother, but came here and was ambushed here. Can you tell me what happened?" "I don't know for now, but I'm sure that this was done by that person." Yen Fo said in a deep voice, "Charlotte, I think so too. He is too bold. He dared to come to the United States again." Williams's eyes were full of anger and killing intent. Yen Fo said, "Charlotte came to the United States for the Shepherd Plan this time, and my Hattori is also one of his targets. My Hattori sent people to assassinate Charlotte's woman. The operation almost succeeded, and Charlotte almost lost his woman and child. So, when he came to America this time, he would not let my Hattori off. Based on the current situation, I have every reason to believe that my Hattori has. At this moment, a voice came from a communicator in Yinfo's hand. Report. We found my Hattori. She is dead. There are also 2 black bears' bodies at the scene. Yinfo said to the communicator, I see. Ignore the bodies and continue to search. Tell me immediately if you find any traces. Yes. The call ended. Yinfo's eyes returned to Williams. Mr. Williams, seal off this forest. If we are lucky, we may be able to stop Charlotte and his people before they escape. Williams said coldly, I will not only search this forest, I will immediately call the Pentagon. This time, we will seal off the entire territory of the United States. A few minutes later, dozens of armed helicopters flew over the sky. In a higher sky, a global hawk swept across the sky and flew into the depths of the forest. On the ground, a large number of special forces, CIB agents, and National Guards entered the forest and carried out a carpet search. Williams turned and walked to the helicopter parked on the road. Yinfo watched Williams leave with a mysterious smile on his lips. Williams suddenly turned back. Yinfo, tell me, who is the leader of the FA organization? The FA organization is now working for the United States, but we don't even know who your leader is. Isn't it too strange? Yinfo was silent for a moment before he said, I don't know. You don't know? Williams's face suddenly became ugly. Are you kidding me? With your identity, you don't know who the leader of the FA organization is? Yinfo shrugged. Mr. Williams, I know you won't believe it, but it's the truth. Then how does he control the FA organization? Yinfo didn't speak. Williams said again, or let me ask a more specific question. How does he make you do things? Of course he has his way, said Yinfo. Williams asked what way. Yinfo pointed to his head. Mr. Williams, if you still want me to do things for you, you better not ask. If you keep talking, my head may fall off my shoulders at any time. Williams was obviously not satisfied with such an answer, but he didn't ask any more questions because he knew that it was impossible to get Yinfo to say anything. At this time, the roar of a helicopter engine came from the sky. Williams and Yinfo looked up at the sky at the same time. An administrative-class Black Hawk helicopter appeared in the sky, flew close in the blink of an eye, and then landed on the road. A pair of blonde women jumped out of the Black Hawk helicopter, then stood on both sides of the hatch, each holding out a hand to help a blonde young man get out of the helicopter. The 2 blonde women were in their early 20s. They were tall, and their breasts were neither too big nor too small. Their waists were slender, but they had a plump butt. This type of body was the favorite type of European and American men. Not only were their bodies good, but the faces of the 2 blonde women were also exquisite and beautiful, like elf princesses from a fairy tale world. The blonde young man also had a tall and well-proportioned body, giving people a sense of strength. This was not difficult to see from his wasp waist and inverted triangle upper body lines. His facial features were very delicate, and the lines of his face were cold and beautiful. Coupled with a pair of blue eyes, he also looked like an elf prince from a fairy tale, giving people a feeling of beauty that was unreal. The blonde young man came over with 2 blonde beauties. The 2 blonde beauties were obviously his bodyguards. An administrative-class Black Hawk helicopter, sexy bodyguards that made people jealous. This blonde young man exuded a high-profile and luxurious aura from his appearance. Williams frowned slightly. Kirsten, the board of directors of Lockheed Martin Corporation actually let such a rich kid take over Forson's position. I really don't know what the directors are thinking. Yinfo had heard some stories about the new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Kirsten, but this was the first time he had seen him in person. My Hattori had told Charlotte about Kirsten, but she did not mention that Kirsten was such a young man. If Charlotte was here, he would also be surprised to see his new business rival Kirsten like this. Kirsten walked to Williams and Yinfo, but he did not take the initiative to greet them. Instead, he said to the 2 blonde beauties beside him, Charlotte, Eva, get to work. Charlotte and Eva were the names of the 2 blonde beauties. Charlotte and Eva nodded in greeting, then walked to the hillside on the right. Williams could not help but ask, "Mr. Kirsten, what are you doing here? Why did you let those two girls enter the scene?" Kirsten then spoke to Williams. "Mr. Williams, I asked my people to look for the traces left behind by Charlotte. I will have to face him sooner or later, and I want to know more about him, starting with his fingerprints and smell." Williams's expression turned ugly. Since when did Lockheed Martin Corporation have this kind of authority? "Let those two girls come back, or you'll get into trouble," Kirsten said indifferently. "I have Mr. President's authorization. If you don't believe me, you can call Mr. President now." Williams sneered. "That's not necessary. I will talk to Mr. President when I have the chance." Kirsten said, "I can roughly guess what you will talk to Mr. President about, but what I want to tell you is that the CIB under your leadership is like a child scout in front of Charlotte. It's not the first time you have been beaten black and blue by him. You guys are the intelligence department of the United States. I feel ashamed for you guys with such results. I am very surprised that you haven't resigned yet." "You." Williams did not expect Kirsten to mock him like this. He wanted to punch him, but he was not a reckless person. Kirsten's attitude showed that he didn't take him seriously at all. Suddenly, he recalled something that even he was afraid of. Even he couldn't find any information about Kirsten. Kirsten, who had appeared out of nowhere, like a beautiful mushroom after the rain. "Mind your own business, Mr. Williams. You only need to remember one thing." Kirsten moved closer to Williams and lowered his voice. "You better not provoke me." After that, Kirsten walked past Williams and slowly climbed to the forest on the right. Throughout the whole process, he did not even look at Yen Fo, who was standing behind Williams. In his eyes, the military advisor of the FA organization was just a lowly person. "This guy." Williams looked at Kirsten's back and said coldly, "I will teach him manners sooner or later." "Mr. Williams, who is he?" Yen Fo asked tentatively. Williams shook his head. "Even the CIB doesn't have the authority to investigate his identity?" Williams said, "The CIB has the authority to investigate anyone, but this guy seems to have suddenly appeared out of the ground, and we can't find anything. Right? I will leave this to you." Yen Fo cursed in his heart, but he nodded calmly on the surface. Chapter 1134. The entire United States was locked down, and there were countless people searching for Charlotte in the sky and underground. However, it was like Charlotte had vanished from the face of the earth, and he was nowhere to be found. 48 hours after the ambush. Las Vegas suburbs, 119 Palmetto Road. The study was quiet, and one surveillance image after another entered Charlotte's vision from the hacker's computer. They then combined into a larger 3D map in his brain. In the 3D map in his brain, almost every intersection, airport, and subway station had people searching for him. Once he showed up, he would not be able to escape even if he had wings. Those guys from the White House and the Pentagon, if they knew I was here, would they launch a nuclear bomb at this house to kill me? Charlotte laughed at himself. His current situation was terrible, but it was the price he had to pay to completely destroy the Hattori family. Even if he had to choose again, he would still do it. Footsteps came from outside the door. Xiaolei didn't need to use his X-ray eyes to know that it was Saimu's footsteps. Saimu came to the door and knocked. "Boss, it's me. Come in," Charlotte said. Saimu opened the door and walked in. He said without beating around the bush, "Boss, you asked me to look into Kirsten's information, and I did. I used all the resources I could in America, but you didn't find anything?" Saimu nodded. "That guy seems to only have the name Kirsten. He doesn't have a birth address or parents' information. He doesn't have any school or work history. There's nothing. It's like he just popped out of the ground, which is really strange. But my people still managed to get me 2 pictures of him." He handed an envelope to Charlotte. Charlotte opened the envelope and took out the 2 pictures. One was a single picture of a blonde young man walking through a hotel lobby, and the other was a picture of the blonde young man and 2 blonde beauties in front of Mercedes. "The man is Kirsten," Saimu said. "Those 2 women are his bodyguards. One is Charlotte, and the other is Eva." Charlotte smiled. "He's really handsome. The 2 female bodyguards are also very beautiful. This guy really knows how to pick people." Saima laughed and said, "Boss, compared to you, I'm far inferior. Can these two blondes compare to our Akiko? And Giovanna, Stella, Teresa, and Rosa, which one of them was not more beautiful than them? Even Gaddafi can't compare to you." All right. The more you talk, the more outrageous it is. My relationship with them is very pure. Xiao Lei changed the topic. By the way, have you investigated these two women, Charlotte and Eva? Of course. Saimu said, when we couldn't find any information on Kirsten, we used Charlotte and Eva as a breakthrough point. However, after a bit of investigation, we found out that these two women are the same as Kirsten. They only have two names and nothing else. Charlotte suddenly remembered what my Hattori had told him. He couldn't help but sigh. My Hattori was telling the truth. She didn't lie to me. Saimu said, most people are willing to sell anything, even their own souls, in order to survive. After a pause, he said, "Boss, since your hacking skills are so good, why don't you try to hack into Lockheed Martin Corporation to find out more about Kirsten?" Charlotte shook his head. No, Lockheed Martin Corporation is the company that invests the most in software technology in the world. It even exceeds Microsoft's investment in software technology. I've never found out which company made the CIA's Celestial System, but I suspect that the company that made the Celestial System is Lockheed Martin Corporation. In this situation, if I hack in a Lockheed Martin Corporation system, there's a high chance that the Celestial System will find out and lock onto my location. That would be terrible. If that's the case, then I really can't hack in a Lockheed Martin Corporation. That's it then. I'll go gather information, Simon said. Charlotte said, "Be careful." Simon nodded and left Charlotte's office. Hack in a Lockheed Martin Corporation? It wasn't that Charlotte hadn't thought about it, but he believed that even if he hacked in a Lockheed Martin Corporation system, he wouldn't be able to find out more about Kirsten. If he could, my Hattori would have found out about it long ago. The new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Kirsten, had already attracted Charlotte's interest. However, it was only interest. He didn't take Kirsten too seriously. Lockheed Martin Corporation was his rival in the firearms world. With the current development trend of Rema Group, it was only a matter of time before they surpassed it. Secret Metal X, Jinka Drone, Ghost Drone, these weren't things that Lockheed Martin Corporation could research. In fact, in the field of materials and drones, Rema Group had actually surpassed Lockheed Martin Corporation. Once Rema Group's Secret Metal X Fighter and Secret Metal X Bomber were born, it would be a complete overtake. And this, in Charlotte's plan, wouldn't take more than 2 years. When Rema Group was still processing parts and producing gadgets at Haiju Base, who would have thought that it would one day become the new king of the firearms world? No one would have expected this, not even Xia Lei himself. From the past until now, everything that had happened was like a bizarre and dazzling dream. Do-do-do, do-do-do. The satellite phone suddenly rang. Charlotte took out the satellite phone, glanced at it, and picked up the call. "It's me, speak." Giovanna's voice came from the satellite phone. "Boss, I just received a very important piece of information." "What?" Giovanna's voice was very excited. "The brothers from the Rescue Society found that woman in Las Vegas." Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. He knew very well who the woman Giovanna was talking about was Zhu Xianyue. She came to Las Vegas and is currently refueling at a gas station on Liberty Road in the western suburbs. She's not alone. She has dozens of gang members with her. She and her men are all riding motorcycles, and they have weapons on them. "I understand. Start executing my plan," Charlotte said in a deep voice. "Okay, see you in Green Straw Hat Town." Giovanna hung up the phone. Charlotte followed her into the Las Vegas traffic surveillance system. However, because it was in the suburbs and the geographical location was remote, there were no surveillance cameras installed on Liberty Road. He then put away the hacker's computer and put it into the equipment bag. Then he picked up the equipment bag and left the study. In the living room, seeing Charlotte appear with the equipment bag on his back, Akiko Tsukino asked, "Are we going to act?" Qianjun and Angumi-kan were also in the living room. Both of them also looked at Charlotte. Charlotte said, "You go to San Diego immediately." Giovanna and the others will also leave for Green Straw Hat Town tonight, our stronghold in Mexico. What about you? Akiko Tsukino asked worriedly. Charlotte said, I'm going to Area 51. Tonight? Qianjun also looked surprised. But this is not your plan. Your plan is to use Thompson and wait for him to make arrangements before going in. Why are you going tonight? Charlotte said, There's a change of plan. No, it's too dangerous. Akiko Tsukino said, Since you're going tonight, let me go with you. Qianjun said, I'm going too. Engumi-kan also said, Count me in. Charlotte was moved, but he still shook his head. No, you go to San Diego now, and then wait for Giovanna and the others to arrive in Mexico before you go to Green Straw Hat Town. I'll meet you later. Why don't you let me go with you? Akiko Tsukino looked very anxious. Charlotte was silent for a moment before he said, She appeared. You don't know what kind of existence she is. She won't hurt me, but if you go with me, I can't stop her from hurting you. Whoever she wants to kill, it's just a matter of a thought. No one can escape. The three members of the Zodiac team looked at each other. Charlotte's statement was very mysterious. If someone else had said this, they would not have believed it at all. But they trusted Charlotte deeply. If Charlotte said that the woman could kill people in a matter of a thought, they believed that the woman could kill people in a matter of a thought. That woman was Zhu Xianyue, the person Charlotte had been looking for. Qianjun, Engumi-kan, and Akiko Tsukino were all familiar with her. I know you must be very curious, but what I want to tell you is, after a pause, Charlotte said, Sometimes it's a good thing not to know the truth. I didn't even tell my wife about her secret. If you really want to know, I'll tell you when I have the chance, but not now. Listen to me. Call Sayamo. You go to San Diego immediately. Engumi-kan said, I'm going to call Simon now. Qianjun said, I'm going to get the car. Only Akiko, Tsukino, and Charlotte were left in the living room. Charlotte looked at her, and a gentle smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I know you're worried about me. Don't worry, I will come back alive. Akiko Tsukino threw herself into Charlotte's arms and squeezed him with her warm and soft body. It seemed that she wanted to integrate Charlotte into her body. Her voice was also very soft. Promise me you must come back alive. Charlotte held her waist and then slid down. He gently patted her buttocks twice. I promise you, I will come back. He could understand Akiko Tsukino's feelings. She killed her master for him and betrayed her country and people for him. All she wanted was to be with him. If he didn't come back, she would have nothing. Akiko Tsukino suddenly raised her head and kissed Charlotte's lips. When the two lips touched, her tongue pried open his teeth and slipped in smoothly. How could there be no passionate French kiss at this moment of separation? The female ninja had always been an expert at igniting fires. Her tongue was full of skill, and kissing her was always an unparalleled enjoyment. Coupled with a pair of plump breasts, even at such a moment, Charlotte was still teased. The fabric of his trousers shrank in the blink of an eye. Engumi-kan's voice said, I'm sorry, I didn't see anything. When he said this, Engumi-kan's eyes didn't even blink. He stared at Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino. Akiko Tsukino's charming buttocks were also a big temptation for him, but he only had the right to watch, not the right to touch. The right to touch and more were obtained by a man. That man was Charlotte, and his hand was exercising his right. 30 seconds after the Indian man spoke, the two of them parted. Akiko Tsukino glared at Engumi-kan with a fierce look. Engumi-kan repeated what he said just now. I didn't see anything. Charlotte reached out and patted Akiko Tsukino's buttocks. Let's go, I'm leaving. A crisp sound was heard. In a beautiful ripple, Charlotte stepped out of the door and didn't look back. A new journey had begun. Chapter 1135. The night was dark. Las Vegas was shining like a bright pearl. A Halley Challenger passed through a rural road, leaving Las Vegas behind. The motorcycle cut through the darkness and continued to move forward, and Las Vegas gradually disappeared behind it. A road sign appeared in front of the road, which read, You are driving to the alien base. Please consider your decision carefully. Americans were sometimes very humorous. Xiaolei retracted his gaze from the road sign and slammed on the accelerator. The Harley Challenger roared as it sped along the road, shrouded in darkness. More than 10 minutes later, a new road sign came into Charlotte's sight. It read Freedom Road, and there was a gas station 3 kilometers ahead. The Harley Challenger continued to move forward, and 2 minutes later, Charlotte saw a gas station on the side of the road. The gas station was lit, but it was empty. There was no fleet of motorcycles, and no cars were refueling at the gas station. The Harley Challenger soon arrived at the gas station. Charlotte parked the car at a gas station, then got out of the car and entered the gas station. A Mexican woman stood in front of the cashier, looking at Charlotte with dull eyes. Charlotte wanted to ask her some questions, but after seeing her eyes, he turned and left. The Mexican woman at the cashier would not remember anything, including herself. This was a typical Zhu Xianyue greeting. The existence of this Mexican woman was the best proof. Zhu Xianyue had been here, refueled, and ruined the life of this Mexican woman. It was not difficult to understand Zhu Xianyue's intention. She did not want anyone to remember that she had been here. But for the Mexican woman, it was a nightmare that she could never wake up from. But who said that Zhu Xianyue was inhumane? Because she was not human at all. Humans were just her food. After leaving the gas station, Charlotte rode the Harley Challenger to Area 51. Charlotte's heart was heavy. He longed to meet Zhu Xianyue, but at the same time, he was filled with worry and fear. There was a problem that he had to face. The mysterious words that Zhu Xianyue left on the wall said that he had colluded with the black-robed man to frame her. If she was no longer an ally, but an enemy, what should he do? Before he could come up with a conclusion, the scene about 2 kilometers away entered his field of vision, immediately interrupting his train of thought. The U.S. National Guard has set up checkpoints on the roads to check traffic. They were obviously here to capture him, but now they were blocking Zhu Xianyue and her men. The fact that Zhu Xianyue's men were armed meant that there was no way they could get along with them. However, Charlotte was not worried about Zhu Xianyue and her people at all. On the contrary, he sympathized with the National Guards. Charlotte did not approach the checkpoint again. He stopped the Harley Challenger. However, just as he stopped the motorcycle, a woman suddenly turned her head and looked in Charlotte's direction in a noisy crowd 2 kilometers away. This woman was Zhu Xianyue. She was wearing a tight black leather suit, decorated with shiny decorations, skulls, stars, and so on. She looked like a delinquent girl who hung out with the airport gang. Is this her current style? Charlotte was stunned for a moment. He was not used to it. He knew that Zhu Xianyue had discovered him. He did not go over, nor did he turn the motorcycle to avoid her. He just looked at her quietly. The conflict at the checkpoint escalated when the two of them looked at each other. Get out of the car. A captain from the National Guard shouted through a loudspeaker. If you don't get out of the car and accept the inspection, we will enforce it. If you resist, we will shoot. F*CK. A black rider stuck up his middle finger at the captain. Then, he said provocatively, "Do you know who we are? We are the Black Moon Army, and we are saving this world." What did you say? The captain walked toward the black rider who was provoking him. As he walked, he pulled out the pistol in his holster. We are the Black Moon Army, and we are saving this world. Let's pass, or you are finished. The black rider was very arrogant. Not this one, but the previous one, the captain said. He stopped in front of the rider's motorcycle. Idiot, is this what you want to hear? Ha ha ha. The black rider laughed loudly. The dozens of riders all laughed. They were all black, and not a single one was white. Against the contrast of their black skin, their white teeth were especially conspicuous. This also made their mockery and contempt even more exciting to the people around them. F*CK. The captain suddenly waved his hand, and the gun handle smashed into the black rider's head. The black rider cried out in pain and then fell off the motorcycle. His head was smashed by the captain's gun handle, and blood instantly dyed his face red. However, this was not the worst thing. The worst thing was that, as he fell to the ground, the leather jacket on his upper body slid down to his waist, and a desert eagle that was stuck in his belt was instantly exposed. They have weapons, the captain exclaimed in shock. Whoosh! All the soldiers at the checkpoint raised the assault rifles in their hands. A machine gunner on a military off-road vehicle also entered combat mode, and a heavy machine gun was aimed at the motorcycle riders blocking the checkpoint. Get off! Put down your weapons and kneel on the ground. The captain shouted angrily with the pistol in hand and gave 3 orders in a row. The motorcycle riders did not dare to oppose the regular army. One by one, they slowly got off the motorcycle, but they did not disarm. They looked at their heads and waited for her instructions. However, at this moment, Zhu Xianhua walked toward Charlotte. "Hey, stop, or I will shoot," the captain roared. Zhu Xianhua did not seem to hear him. She did not even turn her head and continued to walk toward Charlotte. Bang! With a gunshot, a bullet hit the road beside Zhu Xianhua, and the bullet splashed a bunch of sparks. "This is the last warning. Put your hands on your head and get down," the captain roared. Zhu Xianhua suddenly turned around to look at the captain, and then she raised her right hand. Her hand seemed to be tied by an invisible rope, and the captain immediately covered his neck. Rather than saying it was covered, it was better to say that he was choking. His breathing was cut off by his own hands, and his face turned the color of a pig's liver because of the lack of oxygen. But he could not let go. The captain fell to the ground, and his legs kept kicking, as if he wanted to get rid of something, but his hands were still tightly wrapped around his neck, and he refused to let go. "Captain!" A soldier from the National Guard suddenly rushed forward, wanting to help his superior. Zhu Xianhua's eyes suddenly turned cold. Her gaze moved to the soldier who had rushed to the captain's side. With just a glance, the soldier suddenly collapsed on the road like a doll that had lost its power. The soldier had clearly become Zhu Xianhua's food. There was no need to examine him. Charlotte knew that his brain had shrunk and rotted. There's something wrong with that woman. Kill them. Open fire. Amidst the angry roar, a soldier from a National Guard at the checkpoint suddenly aimed the assault rifle in his hand at Zhu Xianhua. However, before he could shoot, a black rider rushed in front of Zhu Xianhua, opened his arms, and used his body to block the path of the soldier's shot. The black rider faced the cold muzzle, and there was not a trace of fear on his face. On the contrary, there was an indescribable smile and a sense of happiness on his face. It was as if this was his honor. Bang, bang, bang. The soldier from the National Guard still fired, and it was 3 shots in a row. The black rider who blocked the shot fell to the ground. Bang, bang, bang. A gunfight broke out just like that. Dozens of black riders pulled out their guns and fired. The soldiers from a National Guard at the checkpoint did not hesitate and immediately attacked. They were all armed with military assault rifles, mainly M4A1 assault rifles. They had powerful firepower and were not comparable to the pistols and mini submachine guns of the Black Riders. In addition, they had already aimed their guns at the Black Riders. Therefore, as soon as the battle began, the National Guard had the absolute advantage. In the blink of an eye, a large number of Black Riders were knocked down. The sound of gunfire was deafening, and the bullet shells fell to the ground, emitting smoke. One by one, the Black Riders fell to the ground, stained with blood. However, like their companion who blocked the shot, there was not a trace of fear on their faces. On the contrary, there was a happy and peaceful expression, as if they had been freed and redeemed. Charlotte could not watch any longer. He let go of the clutch of Hallie's breakthrough and slammed on the accelerator. Bullets did not have eyes. In such a chaotic battle, if anyone shot at Zhu Xianhua, even if she did not die, her body might be crippled. Under such circumstances, he could not let that happen. The engine of Hallie's breakthrough roared. When there was still a kilometer to go, Charlotte had already pulled out his Gale assault rifle from his equipment bag. At that moment, a National Guard soldier suddenly aimed his gun at Zhu Xianhua. Bang! Before the National Guard soldier who wanted to kill Zhu Xianhua opened fire, the Gale assault rifle in Charlotte's hand sprayed a bullet. 7 seconds later, the bullet flew past Zhu Xianhua's cheek and plunged into the soldier's forehead. Puff! The rapidly spinning bullet dug a fist-sized hole in the soldier's brain. From his forehead, it looked like a small bullet hole, but when the bullet flew out from the back of his head, It brought out a fist-sized ball of brain juice and blood. Bada! The soldier who was shot fell to the ground. A smile suddenly appeared on Zhu Xuanyue's face. The smile looked strange because it had the innocence of a little girl, but also the inviolable evil of a demon. What did this smile mean? This question flashed in Charlotte's mind, but he did not have time to think about it because he saw that the machine gunner in the military off-road vehicle had already pointed the muzzle of the heavy machine gun at Zhu Xuanyue. With the heavy machine gun fired, even if Zhu Xuanyue's body was made of steel, there would definitely be hundreds of bloody holes. However, just as Charlotte adjusted the muzzle of the Gale assault rifle and was about to kill the machine gunner suddenly lowered the muzzle and opened fire at the National Guard soldiers at the checkpoint. Dong dong dong. Dong dong dong. The unique sound of the heavy machine gun firing rang out, and the movement of death also played. In this heavy metal movement of death, the National Guard soldiers were torn apart alive. Their arms, feet, internal organs, and flesh flew in the air. Blood sprayed on the ground like a spray gun, and in the blink of an eye, the ground was dyed red. This incomparably bloody thing happened behind Zhu Xuanyue, but she did not turn around to look. She maintained that innocent and evil smile on her face. Then, she waved at Charlotte and signaled him to go over. Chapter 1136. The number of people Charlotte had killed had already reached 3 digits. In the human world, he was definitely a butcher covered in blood, but compared to Zhu Xuanyue, he was just a child soldier. No matter what, since he was here, he would have to meet her sooner or later. Charlotte bit the bullet and drove over, but his speed had already slowed down. The fratricidal battle between the National Guards had also ended. The machine gunner who killed all his comrades put down his heavy machine gun and pulled out his pistol from his waist. Then, he opened his mouth and held the muzzle of the pistol in his mouth. Without hesitation, he pulled the trigger. Bang! The machine gunner's body tilted, and he fell from the car to the ground. There is only one survivor from both sides, Zhu Xuanyue, and she didn't look at the battlefield behind her from beginning to end. She could control everything with her back turned. Halley broke through and stopped in front of Zhu Xuanyue. Charlotte didn't take off the helmet on his head because there was no need to. Zhu Xuanyue had the same X-ray vision as him, and she was even more powerful than him. In fact, as early as when he was still 2 kilometers away from Zhu Xuanyue had already recognized him. Very close distance, familiar smell, and looking into each other's eyes, at this moment, Charlotte felt that she had never left him. He still felt so close to her, so close that he didn't need to say anything to understand what she was feeling in her heart, all of her feelings. No one spoke for a full minute, and not a single mosquito dared to approach them. In the end, Charlotte couldn't help but break the silence between the two of them. Xuanyue, it was easy to speak, but to continue, he didn't know what to say. You lied to me. Zhu Xuanyue suddenly curled the corner of her mouth, looking like a little girl who had been wronged and was about to cry. Charlotte was surprised because whether it was from the video obtained by the brothers from the Rescue Association or what he saw with his own eyes, Zhu Xuanyue had changed a lot. She was not the childlike Zhu Xuanyue he was familiar with at all. If there was a demon lurking in her body, then that demon had actually awakened. But as soon as he got close to her, the demon lurking in her body seemed to suddenly fall asleep, and she returned to her previous state. What the hell was going on? For some reason, Charlotte suddenly thought of the other 2 women, Peaceful and Gu Qian. From a physical point of view, the Zhu Xuanyue before him was actually a combination of tranquility, Gu Qian, and Zhu Xuanyue in an energy state. How could she completely erase the existence of Peaceful and Gu Qian in this body? Unless she gave up this body. From the perspective of soul studies, Peaceful and Gu Qian were both women who loved him deeply. Gu Qian's love was very strong, strong enough to destroy herself. Serene's love was as gentle as water. Although it wasn't as strong as Gu Qian's love, her love was like a clear spring that nourished the 3 of them. This seemed to be the answer as to why she had such a drastic change. When she got close to him, The part of her that belonged to peaceful and Gu Qian would be activated. Gu Qian's love was like fire, and Serene's love was like a clear spring. Those were the factors that changed her. That was why she used to speak in Gu Qian's tone. It was also why she relied on him like peaceful. Say something. Zhu Xianyue looked anxious. Charlotte had a wry smile. Do you have to say it here? If we don't leave this place, the American army will be here soon. I want you to say it now. Zhu Xianyue looked angry. The first sentence was peaceful's mode, and this was Gu Qian's mode. Her personality was switching. I did not collude with the man in the black robe to harm you. He is my biggest enemy. Charlotte gave a brief statement. Whether you believe me or not, this is the truth. I believe you, Zhu Xianyue said as she walked to Charlotte's side. Charlotte let out a sigh of relief. Get in the car. Let's leave this place first. Just as he finished speaking, Zhu Xianyue suddenly punched Charlotte's lower abdomen. Bang! There was a muffled sound. Under the huge impact, Charlotte's body flew from the motorcycle. After flying for a few meters, he fell heavily on the asphalt road. His lower abdomen was in so much pain that he almost vomited. He endured the pain and climbed up from the ground. He looked at Zhu Xianyue with caution. There was no doubt that it was Zhu Xianyue who had attacked him. Why would she suddenly attack? This was not even a question, because Zhu Xianyue did not need a reason to kill. Zhu Xianyue walked towards Charlotte. Her face was angry, and her eyes were cold. Charlotte retreated, but he did not pull out his gun. His opponent was Zhu Xianyue. He had no idea how useful a gun would be. More importantly, he still could not tell whether she was an enemy or a friend. If Zhu Xianyue just wanted to vent her anger and beat him up, he could accept it. But if he shot at her, then the relationship between the two of them would be completely hostile. He already had the man in the black robe as his enemy. If Zhu Xianyue was added to the mix, he would not have any chance. Calm down, Charlotte said as he retreated. His speed was slower than Zhu Xianyue's. He was waiting for her to come closer, and at the same time, he was guarding against her fatal attack. As soon as Zhu Xianyue got closer to Charlotte, the expression on her face suddenly changed. The anger disappeared, and her eyes were no longer cold. Instead, there was a gentleness unique to women. Her voice was filled with concern and worry. Uncle Xia, are you okay? Who hit you? Charlotte, Zhu Xianyue got closer to Charlotte and reached out to massage Charlotte's stomach. Her movements were very gentle. As she rubbed, she said, "Does it still hurt? Do you want me to blow it for you?" As she said that, she lifted Charlotte's shirt and blew on his stomach. Charlotte did not disturb her, nor did he dare to do so. He was afraid that his inappropriate actions would awaken the demon in her body. As she blew on Charlotte's stomach, Zhu Xianyue suddenly saw something strange. She reached out and grabbed a strand of hair that was sticking out of the elastic band. She pulled hard and held it in her hand. She said with a smile, "Uncle Xiao, what is this?" Charlotte felt like he was going crazy. He couldn't care less as he fiercely shouted, "Stop fooling around. We have to leave this place." Zhu Xianyue hid the strand of hair behind her. She lowered her head and looked very wronged. "Fine, I won't." "Why are you so fierce?" Charlotte walked over to the motorcycle and got on it. He then turned back to look at Zhu Xianyue. "Are you coming or not? If you're not, then I'm leaving." Zhu Xianyue caught up and jumped onto the back seat of the motorcycle. She reached out and put her arms around Charlotte's waist and put her cheek on Charlotte's back. She was so gentle and obedient, but it was unknown whether it was Tranquil or Gu Qian. Charlotte started the motorcycle and rushed through the checkpoint. The corpses and broken limbs on the ground exuded a strong smell of blood. They died because of Zhu Xianyue, but Zhu Xianyue didn't even bother to look at them. There was no pity, no feeling, not even a trace. After driving forward for a distance, Xiaolei left the main road and entered a small country road to drive forward. He didn't turn on the headlights at all. He drove with his night vision. This was to avoid being discovered by the U.S. military's aerial reconnaissance forces. Zhu Xianyue destroyed a checkpoint of the National Guard. Even if no one reported it, the National Guard would still find out about it, and it wouldn't be long before they found out. Therefore, going to Area 51 tonight was obviously not an option. As for him, He also wanted to have a good talk with Zhu Xianyue. Zhu Xianyue wasn't quiet in the car. She hugged Charlotte's waist and sometimes scratched Charlotte's navel with her fingers. Charlotte didn't laugh, but she couldn't stop giggling. When she wasn't doing that, she would rub her cheek against Charlotte's back like a naughty kitten. Charlotte endured such harassment and controlled Hallie to run in the dark. An hour later, he and Hallie were already 150 kilometers away from the scene of the incident. When they finally stopped, they were next to a field of corn. After getting out of the car, he pushed the car into the cornfield. After parking the car, Charlotte looked back at Zhu Xianyue standing by the field. He saw that Zhu Xianyue was staring at him coldly, and her eyes were full of anger. Such a look scared him. He also had a strong feeling in his heart that the demon lurking in Zhu Xuanyue's body had awakened again. "Why did you bring me here?" Zhu Xianyue walked towards Charlotte, looking angry. Charlotte said, "So many people died at the checkpoint. The U.S. will definitely investigate. We have to." Before he could finish speaking, Zhu Xianyue suddenly punched him in the lower abdomen. However, this time, he was prepared. He crossed his hands and pressed down, blocking Zhu Xuanyue's fist in time. However, even if he managed to block it, the impact from Zhu Xuanyue's fist still knocked his body off the ground. He flew 2 meters away before falling to the ground. He felt that the bones in his left and right hands were about to break. The moment his fist collided with her, it felt like he had been hit by a car, not a woman's fist. "Answer my question," Zhu Xianyue shouted from Charlotte. She was not reasonable at all. Zhu Xianyue suddenly took a step and rushed in front of Charlotte in the blink of an eye. Her right fist was aimed at Charlotte again. "Tranquility," Charlotte suddenly shouted. Zhu Xianyue was stunned. Her eyes became gentle, and she put down her fist. "Tranquility," Charlotte then said. "Do you remember me? I am Charlotte." "Charlotte." Zhu Xianyue did not speak. She only looked at Charlotte with gentle eyes. "Do you remember the White Hun tribe in Afghanistan? You and a few experts were trapped there, and I came to save you. Do you remember?" Charlotte tried to use the past to refresh her memory. "What are you talking about?" Zhu Xuanyue's eyes were filled with confusion. Charlotte continued, "And in Haizhu, when we first met, you asked me to fix the compass for you." Zhu Xuanyue's body had the existence of tranquility and Gu Qian, especially tranquility. Her existence was more distinct because in a laboratory in India, she had participated in the reincarnation experiment as a living body. If he could wake her up, she would not hurt him. This was also the reason why he did not wake Gu Qian up. Gu Qian's love for him was extremely strong, but his hatred for him was also extremely strong. He was an existence that was difficult to control. The night wind blew through the cornfield, making a rustling sound. Charlotte's story slowly progressed in the background. Everything that happened in Tranquility's past was slowly told from his mouth. Chapter 1137. Slap. Charlotte slapped his face. When he opened his palm, a flattened mosquito appeared in his palm. The mosquito had already drunk its fill of his blood, and now his palms were dyed red with his blood. There were many mosquitoes in the cornfield, but they all bit him. They didn't bite Zhu Xianyue. That made him depressed and confused. No matter what, he finished his story. Zhu Xianyue listened to him for as long as he spoke. As Charlotte told her about Peaceful's past, her eyes became gentler and gentler. There was no longer any hostility. Charlotte observed her changes and thought to himself, "I told her so many things about Peaceful's past, but it was just a kind of infusion. In the end, she still needed to awaken that part of her memory. If she didn't awaken the memory in her body, this state wouldn't last long." Zhu Xianyue looked at Charlotte quietly. 2 tears suddenly rolled down from her eyes. These 2 tears seemed to have dripped into Xia Lei's heart, splashing a wave of melancholy. A wave of memories mixed with sadness surged out like a tide. Tranquility, that pitiful woman, had quietly left something in his heart. Zhu Xianyue walked toward Charlotte. Charlotte didn't avoid her. He stood there and looked at her. Zhu Xianyue burrowed into his arms. Her voice was a little choked. "I don't know why, but I'm so sad." Charlotte gently hugged her waist. It's all in the past. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Zhu Xianyue held Charlotte's face. I feel so close to you. I'm so afraid that you'll leave me. Promise me that you won't leave me again, okay? Charlotte nodded. But that wasn't a promise. He knew very well. Zhu Xianyue moaned and suddenly kissed Charlotte's lips. Charlotte stiffened, but he didn't push her away. It wasn't that he wanted to take advantage of Zhu Xianyue, but it wasn't easy for him to calm her down and awaken the quiet part of her. If he rejected her now and stimulated her, it would be troublesome if the part that belonged to Zhu Xianyue awakened again. The two of them pressed their lips together. At first, it was a light and artistic kiss, but after a few seconds, it developed in a normal direction. Zhu Xianyue pried, opened his teeth, and stuck her tongue into his mouth. His tongue was perfectly still, but hers was alive, teasing and dancing with his. The situation began to get out of control. Charlotte could accept any degree of French kiss, but in the midst of the chaos, Zhu Xianyue put her hand under his belt, causing him more trouble. Her eyes were also filled with desire. She wanted to get more. If this continued, the situation would really get out of control. Quiet, don't do this. Calm down. Charlotte broke away from Zhu Xianyue's French kiss and gently pushed her away. The desire in Zhu Xianyue's eyes suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a trace of hatred. She also became agitated. You're doing this again? You're always rejecting me. What do you want from me? Charlotte suddenly realized that his rejection had inadvertently awakened a part of Gu Qian. He had rejected Gu Qian. When the Gu family fell, she had no one to rely on. She had stripped naked and stood in front of him, wanting to use her body to exchange for peace and his help, but he had rejected her. Her feelings for him had changed from hate to love, and then from love to hate. It had been changing between two extremes, and it had been extremely strong. But when she died, she had only gotten a hug in his arms. Her life was simply a capital letter, bitter. While Charlotte was frozen, Zhu Xianyue threw a punch at Charlotte. Charlotte's reaction was quick. His feet kicked the ground, and his body knocked away a row of corn to dodge. Zhu Xianyue's fist missed, but the row of corn stalks that her fist was aimed at seemed to be shaken by a strong gust of wind, swaying a little. I love you. Zhu Xianyue clenched her fists and screamed. Tears came out of her eyes again. This time it wasn't 2 drops. It was 2 lines. Quiet was a very gentle woman. Even when she was sad, she looked gentle. Her tears did not come out like a fountain. She was a woman with very strong emotions. She would either love someone to the extreme or hate them to the extreme. Even her tears would be very strong. Her tears would come out like a fountain. Because of these characteristics, Charlotte came to a conclusion. His rejection had accidentally awakened the part of Gu Qian. There was only one woman in front of him, but she had 3 personalities. The gentle and quiet, the loving and hateful Gu Qian, and the demon-like Zhu Xianyue. The 3 personalities kept changing. Although there was a pattern, it was hard to control. Gu Qian? Charlotte's head hurt. Zhu Xianyue was shocked, but she did not say anything. Do you want an apology? Charlotte said. I've thought it through. We shouldn't have done that. If you want an apology, I'll apologize to you. He had destroyed Gu Qian's family. In the end, he had killed Gu Qian. No matter how much hatred there was in the past, it was all in the past. When she was alive, he did not have a chance to apologize to her. Apologizing to her now was a chance to get rid of a knot in his heart. I'm sorry, Qian. Charlotte bowed his head slightly. Zhu Xianyue smiled. At the moment when Charlotte apologized to her, she seemed to be comforted and untied a knot in her heart. That was why she smiled. Looking at her smiling and happy face, Charlotte secretly sighed in his heart. I can't go on like this. She is so unstable. It's not safe for me to be with her. Her goal is to go to Area 51. My goal is also to go to Area 51. But if she goes in this state, there will definitely be a fierce battle in Area 51. She can escape, but what about me? Just as Charlotte was thinking about this, Zhu Xianyue suddenly stopped smiling and said coldly, Charlotte, what are you doing? You call me quiet and Gu Qian. Why don't you call me Zhu Xianyue? Charlotte looked at Zhu Xianyue in a daze. Zhu Xianyue was back. She was the master of this body. It was too easy for her to suppress the parts that belonged to Quiet and Gu Qian. Uncle Xia had become Charlotte. This seemed to be a manifestation of Zhu Xuanyue's growing maturity during this time. This form of address also told Xia Lei that she was no longer the delirious little girl she used to be. There was an accident in the reincarnation experiment in India. The guy wanted to stop me, but he overestimates himself. Zhu Xianyue said lightly. He was seriously injured. He escaped, and you brought me to China. In your eyes, I lost my memory, but I was only in a dormant state because of the injury. Thanks to you taking care of me during that time, I could recover faster. After I started eating, my recovery was even faster. Although I haven't recovered to my original heyday, I will soon. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. You've recovered your memory? No. You've already woken up? Then tell me, what's going on with that box? And that black-robed man, who is he? And you, who are you? You've asked me so many questions. No matter what, I don't want to answer any of them. Zhu Xianyue said. Why? If you really want to know the answer, I can tell you. But I have to tell you one thing first. Those who know my secret are not alive. Zhu Xuanyue's eyes suddenly turned cold. Charlotte was stunned on the spot. I have my fate, and you have yours. You have to find the answer yourself, and then what? Accept your own fate. Charlotte couldn't be satisfied with such an answer. You don't have to tell me the answer, but you can give me some hints. Just a little. Where did that box come from? There's a space inside the box. What is that place? Do you really think I won't kill you? Zhu Xuanyue's body condensed a murderous aura. Charlotte smiled bitterly. In your eyes, I'm just food, right? You can kill me whenever you want. But I want to tell you that I'm not afraid of death. Even if you don't kill me because I woke you up and took care of you, that black-robed man will kill me. He gave me a deadline. I have less than 2 years left. I don't care if I live another year or less. You really want me to kill you? Zhu Xianyue walked toward Charlotte. Charlotte didn't move. His expression was very calm. Dying in your hands is better than dying in the hands of the black-robed man. So give me a hint. He didn't mention the answer. He only wanted the hint. The meaning of Chinese was very deep. Zhu Xianyue sneered. Don't play this game with me. When I spoke Chinese, you didn't know where you were. I know every language in this world. Do you think I can't tell the difference between an answer and a hint? Charlotte didn't back down. The reason you're not afraid of me is because you woke me up. Also, there are 2 women who love you in my body right now, right? Zhu Xianyue said. Charlotte didn't answer this question. He just looked at Zhu Xianyue warily. Regardless of the truth, although he was worried that Zhu Xianyue would attack him, he wasn't afraid of her. Perhaps what he said was right. There were 2 women who loved her deeply in her body. How could she kill him? No matter how he looked at it, it was unwise to anger her. However, if there was any other choice, Xia Lei wouldn't do it. In front of so many unsolved mysteries, in front of the answers that concerned his fate, he could only take this risk. As she approached Charlotte, Zhu Xuanyue's murderous aura suddenly weakened. She was stunned for a moment and said to herself, without recovering to my peak state, I really can't do anything to you. Charlotte secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Give me a hint. Zhu Xianyue was silent for a moment before she said, I only know one secret about that box. It isn't something from this world. It's related to time. To me, it's a cage. I'm afraid to touch it. The prehistoric one tried to unlock its secret, but he failed. The black-robed man who wanted to kill you was none other than the prehistoric one. Although he had already guessed this, Charlotte was still shocked when he heard it from Zhu Xianyue. Isn't he dead? You killed him. His body was under the church of the Holy Sepulchre. I found a lot of fragments of the box on his body. Zhu Xianyue said, when you're as strong as him, you won't ask me this question. The final evolution of humans is an energy form. The body can be easily destroyed, but the soul can't. Even if it's injured, it can recover through various channels. People in the future can give up their bodies and use alloys to build stronger bodies. They can explore the universe without being restricted by the harsh environment. Charlotte was stunned. You came from the future. Chapter 1138. You came from the future? This was a line that many sci-fi movies had to say. The answer was either yes or no. However, Zhu Xinyue casually broke off a grain and handed it to Charlotte. I asked you if you came from the future. You? Why did you give me a grain? Charlotte held the grain that Zhu Xinyue had given him. His head was filled with question marks. He felt that Zhu Xinyue wanted to give him a hint. But what did it have to do with the grain? Zhu Xinyue reached out and broke off another grain. Charlotte didn't know how to continue the conversation. Zhu Xinyue tore open the leaves of Baogu, revealing a mature Baogu. Charlotte couldn't help but smile bitterly. Is this the hint you're giving me? I don't understand at all. Zhu Xinyue held the peeled grain in her hand and rubbed the corn kernels with her fingers. Her expression was calm. You're used to dividing time into the future, the present, and the past. But in my eyes, time is this grain. It's made up of different grains, and we're in one grain. For example, this one. She used her fingers to dig out a grain and handed it to Charlotte. What do you see? Charlotte was stunned for a moment. Corn, a corn. Zhu Xinyue said, yes, a complete corn. It's a complete individual. She threw the corn on the ground and said, now, it will grow into a corn tree and grow new corn. You will get more grains, more corn. You can see it as the continuation of the life of a corn or the continuation of the life of time. You can even see it as the continuation of the world. Charlotte's thoughts immediately flew. The universe was born from chaos, exploded, expanded, and produced stars, planets, and nebulae. It began to expand 8 billion years ago, and this expansion continues to this day. If it was compared to the corn seed that Zhu Xinyue had just thrown on the ground, it was completely feasible. It would become more grains, more corn, and more corn would produce more corn. Aren't humans like corn? A man and a woman get together and give birth to a child. The child grows up and marries again, giving birth to more children. Humans have been searching for the origin of the universe, the end of the universe, and all sorts of mysteries. In fact, the answers are all around us, in the corn, in the peas, and even in the penis and breasts of humans. The universe gave birth to all living things, and all living things had the genes and imprints of the universe. Xiaolei was silent for a moment before saying, do you mean that there's no such thing as past and future? The past is dead. Even the most powerful black hole in the universe can't bring you back to the past for even a second. As for the future did not exist. You can imagine what you look like when you're 80 years old, but the 80-year-old you is just a figment of your imagination. He doesn't exist at all. Charlotte's thoughts became active again. Time is actually just a concept that doesn't exist, right? Zhu Xinyue didn't answer his question and just looked at him. Charlotte continued, there is no past, no future, only the present. There are only worlds that have been multiplied one after another, right? Time is the world, the real world. You came from another corn. Where is it? What is it like? Zhu Xinyue threw away the grain in her hand. Your question is a little overboard. All right, I won't ask about your hometown, but I want to know how you came here. Is it that box? I came to this world because of my mission. I didn't come from that box, but I won't tell you how I came here. That box. Zhu Xinyue's expression became strange and unpredictable. Charlotte was a little anxious. Where did that box come from? Is it the other corn? Zhu Xinyue shook her head. I don't know, but what I know is that the only box that prehistoric got was not complete. It was missing a corner. He must have told you that it was I who broke the box, didn't he? He's lying. Charlotte was stunned on the spot. He had always thought that the only box that prehistoric got was complete, but he didn't expect Zhu Xinyue to tell him that the only box that prehistoric got was missing a corner. In other words, it had never been complete. In our corn, this box is called the box of the world. You probably think that you got it by accident, but I'm telling you that it was your mission. Your mission is the same as prehistoric's, but he failed. But he wasn't satisfied. He wanted to use you to make up for the mistakes he made. He gave you a deadline, but that wasn't because he was benevolent. He wanted to use you to make up for his mistakes, then kill you and replace you. Zhu Xinyue said. Zhu Xinyue only said one sentence casually, but it set off a storm in Charlotte's mind. According to Zhu Xianyue, the black-robed man was the only one from prehistory. He had planned all of this. The bronze book and the book of iron that he had left behind were all lies. Charlotte had always been curious. If the black-robed man's goal was the ancient alloy box, which was the box of the world that Zhu Xianyue was talking about, he could have just taken it away. No one could have stopped him, but he didn't do anything. He didn't even take away the AE capsule that he had kept until now. What was his goal? Charlotte took a deep breath and waited until his emotions calmed down a bit before saying, he left a message saying that he fought with you in Jerusalem in the Middle Ages and died from his injuries. Is this true? Zhu Xianyue said, I told you that the final stage of human evolution is pure energy. He has existed in your corn for so long. If he didn't complete the final evolution, do you think he could have existed for so long? He's the same as me. It's hard for us to kill our opponents. Your future will be the same as ours. The path you're walking now is the path we have walked. You mean he lied to me about this too? Yes, he lied to you. Then what is AE? Where did it come from? Enough. Zhu Xianyue turned to leave. I've talked enough with you. If you want answers, make yourself stronger, then go find that guy. If you can crush him under your feet, you will get the answer. Hey, wait. Charlotte chased after her. Zhu Xianyue suddenly turned around and kicked at Charlotte. Caught off guard, Xiaolei's hands crossed and pressed down, hitting the shaft of her leg. Bang! With a muffled sound, Charlotte flew upside down and shot into the depths of the cornfield like a cannonball. This time, the distance he flew wasn't 2 or 3 meters, but more than 10 meters. After more than 10 meters, he fell and fell heavily to the ground. In the place where he flew, a large piece of the corn tree was broken. The trace was like it was crushed by a roller. Puff! Charlotte's chest was boiling. He couldn't hold it in and spat out a mouthful of blood. Zhu Xianyue turned around and looked at Charlotte with a blank expression. She said coldly, I said that I will give you some hints. I will return what I owe you. Don't appear in front of me again, or I will kill you. Your opponent is the prehistoric one. Go find him and get the answer you want. Charlotte put his hands on the ground and slowly climbed up. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. You're too weak. You will die if you go to him like this. Zhu Xianyue's eyes moved to the alloy pendant on Charlotte's neck. Why do you keep it? Eat it and then eat. The more you eat, the stronger you will be. Defeat the prehistoric one, find the answer, and then kill him. Charlotte didn't speak. He just looked at Zhu Xianyue. Her name was definitely not Zhu Xianyue, but that wasn't important. What was important was that she was no longer the clingy Zhu Xianyue, who called him Uncle Xia. She was definitely not peaceful or Gu Qian. For her, peaceful and Gu Qian were just clothes. Zhu Xianyue walked out of the cornfield and walked in the direction of Area 51. Charlotte walked out of the cornfield. He looked at Zhu Xianyue's back, and his mind became active again. The prehistoric one wants me to take the last AE capsule, and Zhu Xianyue also wants me to take the last AE capsule. What is their goal? The prehistoric one also completed the final evolution. He is the same existence as Zhu Xianyue. He left false information saying that he was killed by Zhu Xianyue, and that Zhu Xianyue was an evil demon that had to be destroyed. And Zhu Xianyue said that the prehistoric one has been lying to me. He said that the prehistoric one has the answer I want. He wants me to become stronger, defeat the prehistoric one, get the answer, and then kill the prehistoric one. Zhu Xianyue and the prehistoric one, who is lying? Or are they both lying to me? What is the purpose of lying to me? According to the information obtained by Qianjun and Saimu in Israel, the Americans know about the faceless warrior statues because someone leaked the secret. Is this a deliberate leak? Zhu Xianyue's goal is the 6 faceless warrior statues. She is heading there now, but she knows that Area 51 will increase the security after the previous gunfight. Even if she goes there, there's a high risk, but she still goes there. This means that the 6 faceless warrior statues are very important to her. Could she be the one who leaked the secret? What does she want to do with the 6 faceless warrior statues? Zhu Xianyue made such a big move. It's impossible that the prehistoric one doesn't know. Will he appear tonight? If he appears, will he stop Zhu Xianyue? When he thought of this question, Charlotte ended his thoughts. He knew very well that this was not the first time he had experienced this. Even if he sat here and thought about these questions for a month, he would not have the answer. The answer could only be found by oneself. No one would give it to him. Charlotte helped the motorcycle up and pushed it back to the road. He looked in the direction where Zhu Xianyue left again, but he could no longer see Zhu Xianyue. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. He had always had a fantasy, that was to make Zhu Xianyue his ally to deal with the black-robed man. But now he knew that this was simply impossible. From the beginning, she was destined to be his enemy. The black-robed man was the only enemy, and Zhu Xianyue was also an enemy. This was really the fulfillment of Murphy's Law for him. He was worried that things would develop in a worse direction, and things really did develop in that direction. These two enemies didn't kill me because I still have some value. But once I lose that value, they will not hesitate to kill me. Then what is my value? A new question emerged in Charlotte's mind. Then he subconsciously grabbed the alloy pendant hanging around his neck in his hand. Whether it was the prehistoric one or Zhu Xianyue, they both persuaded him to eat the last AE capsule, especially Zhu Xianyue. She even encouraged him to eat the last AE capsule and then eat like her to become stronger. Now it seemed that it was really time for him to eat the last AE capsule to make himself stronger. However, for some reason, when he had the thought and desire to eat the last AE capsule, a trace of uneasiness arose in his heart. The enemy always asked you to do things. Could that be a good thing? Charlotte sneered. He stuffed the alloy pendant into his clothes, then stepped on the Halley Challenger, started the car, and drove in the direction of Area 51. Area 51 was destined to not be lonely tonight. Chapter 1139. Area 51, Security Department, Thompson's office. Thompson was pinning a female soldier down on the sofa. His fat buttocks were doing weird things to her. The female soldier's eyes were filled with disdain and disgust, but on the surface, she played along with him, moaning in pleasure. The National Guard's checkpoint was raided. The report was placed on the desk, but Thompson was looking at it with his buttocks. Baby, you're so charming. Thompson was sweet-talking her. Praise your mother. You're thinking of my mother at a time like this? She gave birth to you. You're so beautiful and charming. General, didn't you say you're going to promote me? When are you going to promote me? The female soldier wrapped her arms around Thompson's waist and asked the question she wanted to ask the most at the right time. Thompson smiled. I'm in a good mood today. I'll fill in your file later. Smack! The female soldier kissed Thompson hard on the cheek and said, General, let me serve you. Ha ha ha, you're my baby. Thompson laughed, and he laughed happily. He climbed down from the female soldier's body and lay down on the sofa. He looked very comfortable. Doot. Who's calling at this hour? The female soldier who was about to get to work was displeased. Thompson pulled out the custom-made phone from his pocket. The female soldier grabbed Thompson's hand and whined. General, don't pick up the phone, please. Thompson glanced at the caller ID and brushed the female soldier's hand away. General, the female soldier continued to whine. Thompson slapped her buttocks hard. I have to answer this call. Don't worry, I'll help you with your promotion. You can leave for a while. I need to take this call. The female soldier grabbed the clothes on the floor and left Thompson's office. She didn't want to serve an old man like Thompson anyway. Since Thompson brought it up himself, she was more than willing to end it this way. She didn't want Thompson to disgust her again. After the female soldier left the office, Thompson picked up the phone. He lowered his voice and asked carefully, Mr. James, is there anything I can help you with? I'm busy. He was so nervous because the call was from Charlotte. Now, he dared to offend people all over the world, even daring to give the President of the United States the middle finger, but he did not dare to offend Charlotte. The reason was very simple. Charlotte was the greatest god of wealth he had ever encountered in his life, and also the god of destiny who controlled his destiny. Mr. Thompson, listen carefully. What I'm about to say is very important. Charlotte's voice came from the phone. Mr. James, please tell me. I will remember everything. Thompson was very polite. 10 minutes later, you have to send me the list of all the people who entered Area 51 tonight. This what? You don't want to? No, Mr. James, I would do anything for you, but it would leave a mark. Even if they don't find me tonight, they'll find me in the future, Thompson said. It was Charlotte's voice. You're in charge of the security and defense of Area 51. Surely you have the authority to access all the surveillance videos and the registration of all the people entering and exiting the building without leaving your office? Of course, but don't you know that cameras exist in this world? Take a picture of it and send it to me. That way, there won't be any trace left on your computer. Charlotte's voice rang out. Uh-huh. Thompson slapped his forehead. Why didn't I think of that? No problem. I'll take a picture and send it to you. The second thing I want to talk about is the destruction of the National Guard's checkpoint in the West. What's the reaction from the CIA and the Pentagon? I just received the report from the CIA. I haven't had the chance to read it yet. I'll go read it right away. Thompson hurried to his desk and flipped open the report. As he read, he said, the bodies of gang members were found at the checkpoint, but the one who killed the National Guard was one of the National Guard's own machine gunners. He fired from the back and left no one alive. He killed himself. Other than that, the body of the cause of death was found. The CIA's experts speculate that the killer was among the gang members. The cause of death, the killer was obviously referring to Zhu Xianwei. Zhu Xianwei hunted for food in the United States. She created a large number of corpses with rotting brains. There was no reason for the American Intelligence Department and police to not investigate. Therefore, it was normal for her to be called the killer. You don't have to explain the case to me anymore. Just tell me what the CIA and the Pentagon are doing. Thompson flipped through a few pages and said, there are no intelligence recommendations from the CIA. There are also no military orders from the Pentagon. They just want me to be more alert and what? And send a list of all the people who entered Area 51 tonight to the CIA. The expression on Thompson's face was strange. What the CIA wanted him to do was the same as what Charlotte wanted him to do. I got it. Now, I'll say one last thing. Charlotte's voice rang out. In an hour, I want to enter Area 51. I don't care what method you use. You have to get me in. Huh? This. After tonight, you'll get all the money and the things you're hiding. So, you only need to take this risk, and you'll live the rest of your life in luxury, Charlotte said. Thompson was silent for a moment before he said, where are you now? Charlotte said, my current coordinates are 37, 23382, 115, 81049. Go and get ready now. Remember, you only have 1 hour. Thompson was on the verge of tears. Mr. James, it's not that I don't want to help you. In fact, I want to complete the deal between us tonight. But I've told you, Area 51 security system is very advanced. Even if you disguise yourself as anyone in this world, the facial recognition system will recognize your real identity. Area 51 is the most difficult place to invade in the world. China's intelligence department has been trying to invade for a long time now, but they've never succeeded. Russia is also a loser. They've been trying to invade Area 51 since the Soviet era, but they've never succeeded. You only gave me 1 hour. How can I get you in safely? Even if you have the ability to disguise yourself as me, it won't work. Charlotte's voice rang out. Mr. Thompson, don't worry. I've already prepared a plan for you. You have a plan like that. Thompson's jaw dropped. Charlotte's voice rang out. Listen, Thompson's mouth hung open, unable to close. At the same time, Area 51's radar station, a small red dot, suddenly appeared on the radar screen. The radar soldier noticed the situation and picked up a communicator. He said in a low voice, you've invaded American military territory. Turn back immediately or you'll be shot down. I'll remind you again, this is your last warning. A voice came through the communicator. We have permission from the Pentagon. The number is TMX 11809. The radar soldier then checked the corresponding communication permission on the computer and said, access permission exists. Please provide the access password. The passcode is XJ77963. The soldier said the passcode is correct. Permission granted. After landing, please accept the inspection and follow the relevant regulations of Area 51. Roger that. After the call ended, the soldier picked up the phone on the table and dialed Thompson's office number. The call went through and Thompson's voice came through. "What's up?" The soldier said respectfully. "General, an administrative Falcon helicopter has arrived. It has permission from the Pentagon." "Who is it?" Thompson asked. "The permission says it's from Lockheed Martin Corporation." "There's no list of personnel," the soldier said. "There's no list of personnel?" "Yes, it's against the rules. But the permission is a special permit. We can't do anything about it. Check on those people and write me a report. That's all." Thompson hung up the phone after he finished speaking. The soldier cursed. "Mother of Asterisk, he must be with that slut Jenny again. What a pair of bitches." Thompson's office. Thompson turned on the computer and quickly pulled up the list of personnel entering and exiting the building, as well as the permission. He took a picture of the list of names and the permission to travel. When he was doing this, he didn't even have a single thread on him. The general was very busy. 2 minutes later, an administrative Falcon helicopter arrived at Area 51's helipad and landed. The door of the helicopter opened, and 2 tall and sexy blonde women got off the helicopter first. Then, they helped a blonde young man to get off the helicopter. It was the new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Keston, and his 2 beautiful bodyguards, Charlotte and Eva. The 2 blondes were dressed in black suits. Their breasts were voluptuous, and their tight trousers perfectly outlined the curves of their buttocks. It was the standard European-style buttocks. For such beauties to appear in a military base like this, the American soldiers would have to waste a lot of tissue paper. A military off-road vehicle sped over with a few soldiers in it. "Go deal with them. Tell them that we have permission to be inspected," Keston said. Charlotte and Eva nodded and then walked towards the military off-road vehicle that was driving towards them. Before they even got close, a soft whistle came from the military off-road vehicle. Keston took out his phone and dialed a 32-digit number. A few seconds later, he lowered his voice. "I'm in. Everything is going according to your plan." There was no sound from the phone. After a 2-second pause, Keston hung up. He walked over to the SUV, where his 2 beautiful bodyguards were talking to Thompson's men who had come to check it out. Outside Area 51, in the middle of a desert, Charlotte opened his email on his phone. After seeing the permission, he frowned. "Lockheed Martin Corporation is here too? Although there's no name on it, it's probably Keston. Who the hell was this guy? Who is he working for?" Chapter 1140. In the dead of night, a piercing siren suddenly sounded in a military camp. The sleeping soldier reflexively got up from a bed, quickly putting on his clothes and cursing at the same time. F***CK. They're still doing a drill so late. It must be because Ginny didn't serve that old guy Thompson well and didn't get any benefits from him. Huh, if it were us, we would definitely make that slut Ginny scream. The door was suddenly kicked open, and a female soldier with a big butt appeared at the door. She was none other than Ginny, the slut and slut in the mouth of these soldiers. She was the woman who had sex with Thompson in his office before. She was a first lieutenant and was in charge of this anti-aircraft missile platoon. As soon as Ginny appeared, the soldiers in the barracks shut their mouths. These soldiers didn't have the guts to call Ginny a little slut or slut in front of her, but they could call her whatever they wanted behind her back. Ginny looked at the tactical watch on her hand and said coldly, "Gather in 1 minute," and set off. This is a drill personally commanded by the general, codenamed Lone Hero. The content of the drill assumes that all friendly units have been eliminated and we are the only ones left, and we are about to face an attack from Russian strategic missiles. We have to drive our missile vehicle into the designated interception location, launch missiles to intercept, and defend Area 51. A group of soldiers who were getting dressed looked at each other. No one spoke, but they all said the same thing in their hearts. Did the general's brain get crushed by Ginny's breast? Or did Ginny's brain get crushed by the general? In any case, the anti-aircraft missile platoon gathered after a minute. This drill, codenamed Lone Hero, was really designed and commanded by Thompson himself because he was also here. Thompson gave a few simple words, then jumped into a military off-road vehicle and led the team away. Jenny personally drove a SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile vehicle to follow. Behind the SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile vehicle was a radar vehicle, several military off-road vehicles, and an infantry fighting vehicle. Out of the military base, the drill team headed for the desert. No one knew where they were going. Half an hour later, Thompson's voice sounded in the communicator, arriving at the predetermined location. "Everyone get out of the car and get ready for battle." A radar soldier suddenly said, "An intruder target is approaching us. That's a Russian strategic missile. Shoot it down." Thompson ordered. "General," the radar soldier's tone was strange. "That's a civilian drone. Take it down. Carry out my orders." Thompson roared. The general gave the order. Not to mention a civilian drone. Even if it was a Mosquito, SAM-12 would shoot it. After Thompson gave the order, the SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile vehicle driven by Jenny immediately set up the launcher. 10 seconds later, a SAM-12 missile flew towards the target. In the equipment room of an aircraft club in Las Vegas, a blond young man was flying a fixed-wing drone to a predetermined location. Beside him was his partner, a black kid. Just half an hour ago, he received a call. A customer had placed a strange order, asking him to use the best drone to drop a box of Durex at the designated location. The client paid him $100,000, but he had to fly to the designated location at a set time. "I really want to see who's so romantic to actually spend $100,000 to buy a box of Durex." The blonde youth operating the drone said, "I think it might be an Arab prince. Only they like to shoot cannons in the desert." The black youth smiled and said, "When we fly to the predetermined location, we must take a few pictures to satisfy our craving." "We'll be there soon," the blonde youth said. "My brother, do you think he would do that kind of thing on the back of a camel?" "Ha!" Whoosh. The aerial image on the screen suddenly disappeared. There was nothing left. "What happened?" the blonde youth said in a daze. The black youth shrugged. "I don't know, but we've already received the guy's $100,000. It's not a loss. But we didn't drop the Durex he wanted at the predetermined location, so we should run and hide for a while." The blonde youth got up. "We'll go to Hawaii. We'll leave immediately." At the same time, Jenny waved her fist. "Hit!" The deputy sitting next to Jenny looked at her with a strange expression. Using an anti-aircraft missile worth millions of dollars to shoot down a civilian drone. Was there a need to be so excited? However, there was no explosion in the sky. The SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile had completely knocked down the civilian drone. "What's going on?" Thompson's voice sounded from the communicator. Jenny bit the bullet and said, "It might be a missile malfunction." "Missile malfunction? If this was a real battle, we'd all be dead. Immediately bring people to check. I want everyone to see how you usually maintain our equipment." Immediately, Thompson was furious. "Yes." Jenny also roared. "Everyone go to the missile crash site immediately." Jenny and her men drove a few military SUVs to the missile crash site. Only Thompson was left at the position. Just as Jenny and her men left, Thompson got out of the car. He looked around, but didn't see the person he wanted to see. "I'm here." A familiar voice came. Thompson turned around and looked in the direction of the missile launch vehicle where the voice came from. Under the moonlight, a mixed-race young man stood on the missile launcher and looked at him expressionlessly. Thompson then took out a set of military uniform in a plastic bag from the military SUV beside him and walked over. He threw the uniform to Charlotte. "Mr. James, your plan is really great." Charlotte quickly changed into the uniform Thompson gave him, then carried his equipment bag and got into the launcher. This was his plan. Book the airdrop service, and then Thompson would bring his men to shoot down the plane. He got into the launched missile launcher. No matter how advanced Area 51 surveillance equipment was, it couldn't monitor its own missile launcher. After Charlotte hid, Jenny's voice came from the communicator. "General, it was a fixed-wing drone that was shot down." What?" It was carrying a box of Durex. Jenny's voice was strange. Thompson was stunned. Durex? Yes, Durex, Jenny said. Bring it back, Thompson said. Jenny was speechless. Next to the wreckage of the fallen drone, a large group of soldiers wanted to laugh but didn't dare. But they all had a common understanding, and that was that this box of Durex would eventually be used on their commanding officer, Jenny. And the person who used it was none other than their general. 10 minutes later, Thompson returned to Area 51 with his team. This is a failed exercise. It's a shame, Thompson said. When we go back, get someone to pull the fallen missile back and destroy the drone. I don't want to be a joke to those guys in the Pentagon. No one is allowed to mention this. Yes, sir, the communicator responded. In the missile launcher, Jenny took out the box of Durex and looked at it. Her head was full of questions. In the center of Area 51, in front of a circular building, Kirsten and his two beautiful bodyguards stopped in their tracks, and the three of them looked at the circular building in front of them. There was no sign on the building, not even a lowercase letter. There were no windows either, and the outer wall was made of a large amount of metal. At the same time, there was a thick layer of anti-radar and anti-satellite paint. It was impossible to see it on Google Maps. There was only one alloy door in the circular building. When the door opened, there were 4 armed guards. They looked at Kirsten, Charlotte, and Eva expressionlessly. This is the AE Research Center, Kirsten said calmly. It looks mysterious. Charlotte and Eva just listened without saying a word. The 2 blonde beauties were colder than icebergs. The alloy door opened, and a white-haired old man walked out. He was the head of the AE Research Center, Alec. There were 2 people behind Alec. One of them was Sylvia's ex-boyfriend, Adolf Hillman. The other was a senior intelligence officer from Israel's Mossad, Kearns. His appearance here was surprising. As America's ally in the Middle East, and the faceless warrior statue belonged to Israel, it was normal for Israel to send Kearns to participate in the Shepherd Project. Mr. Kirsten, you're here. I've been waiting here for a long time. Alex smiled and spoke politely. When he walked up to Kirsten, he gave him another hug. Kirsten said, Mr. Alec, can you bring me to see the 6 faceless warrior statues now? I can't wait to see them. I've already made the arrangements, Alex said. Follow me. Adolf Hillman had wanted to wait for Alec to finish talking to Kirsten, introduce himself, and then shake hands with Kirsten. However, Kirsten did not care about him at all. Perhaps because of that, he said, Mr. Alec, it's not a problem for Mr. Kirsten to go in, but does his bodyguard have permission to look around? Charlotte and Eva's eyes shifted to Adolf Hillman. Their gazes were cold. Kirsten said, He's my assistant, Adolf Hillman, Alec introduced. Oh, Kirsten said, Mr. Alec, I will assign you a new assistant. Mr. Adolf Hillman does not need to come here tomorrow. Why? Adolf Hillman could not believe it. He was furious, but he did not dare to show it. After all, Alec was the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation. He had an important position in the U.S. military. Kirsten said, If you want the reason, I can tell you. The AE Research Center has been researching for so long without any results. The Pentagon has lost its patience. From now on, the AE Research Center will be taken over by Lockheed Martin Corporation. We'll provide the funds, equipment, and personnel. Given the situation, do you think I have the right to fire you? Adolf Hillman's gaze shifted to Alec. Mr. Alec, this isn't fair. I've always been your assistant. I've done so much for this research center. Are you going to fire me just because I'm sticking to my principles? Alec wanted to say something, but stopped. It would be stupid to go against the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation for a mere assistant. Kirsten said, Mr. Adolf Hillman, there's no such thing as fairness in this world. All right, Mr. Alec, let's go. All right, please follow me. Alec led the way. Charlotte and Eva walked past Adolf Hillman. The 2 women didn't even look at Adolf Hillman in the eye. This was contempt and disdain that came from their bones. Adolf Hillman stood where he was and did not move for a long time. Why was he always the one who got hurt? Chapter 1141. In Thompson's office. Mr. James, you have to finish as soon as possible. The sooner you leave, the better. Thompson's tone was practically begging. If Xia Lei was discovered and he sold him out, he would also be done for. Charlotte didn't seem to hear Thompson's voice. He operated Thompson's computer and quickly pulled up the surveillance video of the AE Research Center. However, he only pulled up the external surveillance video, not the internal one. Thompson also saw the surveillance video that Charlotte pulled up. He said, "It's useless. The AE Research Center has an independent surveillance system. Even I can't see it." Charlotte said, "Independent. That is to say, what happens inside can't be seen from the outside." Thompson nodded. "In theory, yes." "Take me there," said Charlotte. Thompson felt a headache coming on. He looked very reluctant. Charlotte said faintly, "Don't forget that we are on the same boat. If I act alone, if I am discovered, can you get away with it? I will only be safer if you cover me." "But," Thompson bit the bullet and said, "although the AE Research Center is in Area 51, it has always been an independent institution. I don't have the authority to get you in. If we force our way in, the CIA and the Pentagon will soon know. You need an excuse to enter, and this excuse is ready-made." "What is it?" Charlotte said. "Didn't the people from Lockheed Martin Corporation come? They just provided a pass. Don't you know how to make a fuss about the pass? Just pick some problems and then bring people in to check. Even if the people from the Pentagon know, you can say that you are doing your job." Thompson thought for a moment. "Okay, you drive. I will pick problems on the way." Just as Charlotte was about to get up, an Asian female soldier suddenly appeared on the monitor. The picture in the video was very blurry, but this was not a problem for Charlotte. He saw the Asian female soldier's face clearly when he saw her. She was none other than Zhu Xianyue. Charlotte was surprised. He thought to himself, "I went through so much trouble to sneak into Area 51, but she just swaggered in. Although she can control people's minds, she can't control computer programs, right? What's more, Area 51 system is connected to Celestial system. How did she get in?" Charlotte suddenly shifted his gaze to a map of Area 51 on his desk, then glanced at the direction behind Zhu Xianyue. He was momentarily stunned. Zhu Xianyue came from the helipad. Thompson also came over. He also saw the Asian female soldier and said, "What does this female soldier want?" Charlotte said, "Don't worry about her. Cancel the plan." "Cancel?" Thompson looked very surprised. Although he was eager to go to the AE Research Center to take the risk, he was worried that Charlotte would do something. Once he was discovered, he would be finished. In the surveillance screen, Zhu Xianyue went straight to the alloy gate of the AE Research Center. No one came up to ask her anything, and one of them even opened the door for her. When the door opened, Zhu Xianyue walked straight into the AE Research Center. Who is this woman?" Thompson stared at the surveillance screen on the monitor, dumbfounded. Charlotte said, "You stay here and get ready. I will leave in an hour." "You're going to the AE Research Center by yourself?" "Yes, I'm going by myself." Charlotte walked to the door without further explanation. Thompson shrugged. "Well, I'll get ready now." Leaving Thompson's office, Charlotte walked to the AE Research Center based on the map network in his brain. He avoided all the surveillance cameras and all the patrolling soldiers. With the ability of his eyes and ears, he had absolute control over a radius of 2 kilometers. Only he could find others, and no one could find him. 10 minutes later, Charlotte arrived in front of the circular building of the AE Research Center. The 4 armed guards stood straight in the doorway, looking straight ahead. Charlotte's eyes locked on one of the guards and activated the X-ray and scanning mode. A set of data quickly appeared in his brain. Heartbeat 50, brain activity 1%. The heartbeat was only 50, which is a heartbeat that would only occur when one was asleep. However, these 4 guards were on duty, so it was impossible for them to have such a heartbeat under normal circumstances. What's more, their brain activity was only 1%. This was definitely not the data of someone who was asleep, but the data of someone who had become a living dead. This was obviously Zhu Xianyue's doing. Charlotte retracted his X-ray and scanning vision and walked over. He took out a pass from one of the guards, opened the alloy gate, and walked in. Behind the alloy gate was an empty front hall. There was only a row of chairs in the large front hall and a front desk. However, because it was nighttime, there was no staff there at all. The front hall today was a corridor, and on both sides of the corridor were office areas. Charlotte's vision quickly completed the reconnaissance. The office areas on both sides of the corridor were just ordinary office areas, and there was no one working in them at all. There was a surveillance room next to the office area, but when Charlotte's vision moved to that place, he found a few people lying in disorder inside. Their faces were bloodless, and there was no heartbeat. They were already dead. This was obviously also Zhu Xuanyue's doing. She killed all the guards in the surveillance room and had a little midnight snack. Wherever Zhu Xuanyue went, there was no one left alive. Charlotte retracted his vision from the surveillance room and continued to observe. There was an elevator next to the corridor entrance, but he needed to check the information of his retina, fingerprint, and pass before he could enter. His vision penetrated the elevator shaft, and at a glance, he saw that the elevator was going down. There was an underground space under the circular building. Obviously, that was the real AE Research Center, and all the confidential experiments were carried out in the underground space. There's no way Zhu Xuanyue has a pass, right? She can't control the heavenly god system to let her take that elevator. She must have another way. Charlotte moved his vision to the ground, and a series of footprints appeared on the smooth tile floor. Zhu Xuanyue came from the helipad, and her feet were inevitably stained with dust and mud. These things became the traces that Charlotte tracked her. Of course, normal people couldn't see such traces, so Charlotte used his microscopic vision ability. Zhu Xuanyue's footprints extended into the office area, and Charlotte followed her footprints forward. Finally, he came to the front of a room. Zhu Xuanyue's footprints extended into the room, and Charlotte pushed open the office door and walked in. This was Alex's office. His name tag was on the desk, and there was a photo of him with the former president of the United States on the wall. Zhu Xuanyue's footprints extended all the way to a bookcase. Charlotte came to the bookcase, and in his vision, a woman's palm print appeared on the side of the bookcase. Charlotte placed his hand on the woman's palm print and then pushed it to the side. The bookcase slowly moved aside, revealing the entrance to a staircase. There was no password entry requirement, and there was no electronic device that needed to be inserted into the pass. It was just a staircase that led to the underground space. Charlotte was confused. This is such a secure place, and Alex's office has such a design. Is this a safe passage in case of an emergency, or what? He didn't see the staircase in the front hall, but how could such an important research center not have a staircase? If there was a power outage or a fire, how could the people in the underground space escape? Therefore, there was a high possibility that this staircase was a secret escape passage in case of an emergency. This also seemed to explain why there was no complicated identification verification equipment. In an emergency, how could the people who escape have the time to enter the password, fingerprint, and retina? But the question was, how did Zhu Xuanyue know about such a secret escape passage? Charlotte thought of two possibilities. The first possibility was that someone had told her. The second possibility was that her X-ray vision had reached a very scary level, and she could see the hidden safe passage in this office at a glance. And this was something that Charlotte couldn't do. Either of these two possibilities was possible, but Xiaolei didn't think too much about it. He entered the staircase behind the bookcase, then lowered his footsteps to the lowest level and carefully walked down. There was light in the staircase, and there were footprints left by Zhu Xuanyue on the stairs. When he went down the stairs for about 3 floors, the exit of the staircase entered Charlotte's sight. At the exit of the staircase were the bodies of 2 armed guards. Their brains had shrunk and decayed, and they had obviously become Zhu Xuanyue's snacks. The 2 armed guards were obviously the personnel who guarded this staircase. Their existence just happened to indicate that this staircase was a safe passage in case of an emergency. Although there was no need to verify identity and enter a password, under normal circumstances, it was forbidden to pass through. Charlotte walked out of the staircase. His position was just an overhead circular corridor. Below him was a huge underground space. 6 faceless warrior statues were placed in 6 different positions in the underground space, forming a six-pointed star pattern. Around the six faceless warrior statues, there were countless scientific research equipment. Some of the equipment was in a working state, and some equipment was in a closed state. This was what Charlotte saw when he used his left eye to see through the ground under his feet. He didn't dare stand at the edge of the corridor. Charlotte also saw Alec, Kirsten, and his two female bodyguards, Charlotte and Eva. There was also the high-ranking intelligence officer from Israel, Kearns. Finally, he saw the person he didn't want to see, Zhu Xianyue. Zhu Xianyue, who was dressed as a female soldier, had already walked down the circular corridor. She was walking through the experimental area toward those people. Those people didn't notice her, and they were still discussing the problems related to the Shepherd Project. Their voices were clearly heard by Charlotte. The material of these six statues isn't any material in this world. We've compared all the materials that can be compared, but none of them are similar, so we can confirm that they aren't composite materials. Alec's voice rang out. Kirsten said, "Mr. Alec, our plan is to melt them. Why don't you carry out our plan?" Alec said, "We know about Lockheed Martin Corporation's plan, but melting them is the last step. Now isn't the time to melt them. They can interfere with signals, which is a very magical thing. If we melt them without even understanding this, we might never find the answer." But at this moment, Kearns suddenly shouted, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Zhu Xianyue had been discovered. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.